you should understand that the person who is seeing you is a person who knows all about your background, because he has got an access to the your PIQ which you filled. All right. Having said that, the person like the last speaker, Brigadier Ramesh must have told you that when you, the system of the technique which is there, or when you get in, the initial questions are not going to be killing where they are looking to, all right, let me find out, does he know this, does he know that? What the person will do is the person will make you easy. So when he makes you easy, needless to say, don't get too friendly, but to get easy if he is trying to do that. Thereafter that, just wait the person who's in front of you. The person is not going to ask you about anything other than the services. Take your mind, suppose you were going for an interview to say Infosys, and Infosys on the department where you're dealing with a certain amount of computer science, a little bit more deeper into Java, C++, or the languages which you have. What do you think the person will be asking you? He's definitely might ask you, it's been raining, the weather has been monsoon, but then after that, he's going to be asking you those aspects which is going to be involved in the work that you have chosen to be part of. If you mind those of you who have graduated or in the process of graduating, there is something known as in your colleges, you must have had your placements, people who come. What do they ask? These are those aspects which the people are looking for. Are you interested or are you not interested? Do you have it in you? Do you not have it in you? Not necessarily because of that ad relates to the services. The person is just simply looking at that. You are going to be a carpenter. Well, a carpenter in Germany is very high. That carpenter must know his tools, must be genuinely interested in the job itself. So that is where your defense awareness comes, to show that you are genuinely interested in the defense services. In the defense services, suppose you want to be a pilot, show yourself as someone who is dedicated to being a pilot. And within the pilot, you want to fight a pilot. Again, you must have that spurt or that spark in you to convince the person in front of you, the person who's interviewing you, that yes, I want to join the services because I want to join the Air Force to become a fighter pilot. And I know to a certain extent, you definitely can't be flying a Rafale at this stage, or even a MiG-29 or a Sukhoi. But yes, I know enough. Why is that? Because you are interested in it. If you are, say, if you are interested in playing a guitar, if you are interested in playing the harmonium, if you are one of those singers, if that's what your interest is, do you need extra time to learn it? You don't need it. What you will do is probably before you go to sleep, you've done everything, but you're going to sleep, you will just pick up the flute or you pick up your guitar and just strum around a little bit for about 10-15 minutes, and then you will go to sleep. And that's your practice. Why? Because you have the passion for this. That's your passion. You will make your time for it. So that is what has to be in terms of you joining the services. I have everything to join the services. Convince that person in front, sir, this is the service that I'm going to be. But you can't just saying it without knowing it. So I want to join the Air Force, all right. So how many bases are there in the Air Force also? I don't really know. All right, which department of the Air Force would you like to join? Sir, I'd like to join the flying branch, all right. Is there any other branches? Okay, you must know the other branches, but I'm keen on the flying, and so on and so forth. That is what is. So, having said that, we break into the defense awareness. In terms of defense, if you see, I don't think there is a. And I forgot to. Tell you that the slide which was the presentation for some reason has got corrupted. It wasn't there, but I will take it on in terms of with the board, and I hope I should be able to put across because I've got my notes are there in front. Okay. So as far as the defense is concerned, there is the Army, there is the Navy, and there is the Air Force. No doubt on that. There is one aspect which you must know. We'll talk about it subsequently. But it will not be complete if we did not talk about. There is something known as the PMF, the paramilitary forces. I'm talking about defense, anything to do with security in the country. Besides the paramilitary forces, have we covered everything? There is something known as the CAPF. Right? Now, within the CAPF, we'll speak about the CAPF also. There itself also, there is a certain amount which mixes into the defense services. Then the next which is there, the state services. Okay? State services, the police in Karnataka state, the armed police, the people who are there in terms of home guards. There are some, all of them have got, Bombay has got something known as, greyhounds. Bombay has got, there's greyhounds in Chhattisgarh. There is, in Telangana, there is some, Chhattisgarh has got some cheetahs. So they have their own specialist SOGs also. Then comes the defense institutions. The institutions. And then this might get off subsequently, the logistic backup. And in this are the ordnance factories, see the ORD. I've just put ordnance, which is just ordnance is just a part of the one of the defense logistic backup. 3, 4. Okay, we've got all 6 of them, right? Okay. Now, when we come to the aspects which have been put in over there, the Army, Navy, Air Force, no problem. We'll talk about it. Then comes the PMF. Ask yourself, I'll give you 5 seconds to think about what is the PMF, and I bet that you will be wrong. The PMF, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. The PMF, most of you would have said that the PMF is probably the BSF, the ITBP, etc. Okay, so those of you who have said that, not bad. Because that is what it used to be once upon a time, but not anymore. The PMF is basically, there are 3 of them. There is something known as the Assam rifles. There is something known as the SFF, something that is supposed to be under the RAPS. It is under the CAPSEC directly, and it has got its own base, with approximately about, say, 10,000 people. That is the SFF. And the third category is your Coast Guards and an organization called the RR, Rashtriya Rifles, which even as on date is a fully fledged army institution. It's army run, everything. But on paper, subsequently on a time frame, the RR is supposed to be also a part of a PMF. It should have people who have left the army or the services and who have joined it. That is the Rashtriya Rifles. But in the context of today, the Rashtriya Rifle is as vibrant and as effective as any infantry battalion uh, uh, can be as of now. Not supposed to be, will not be so. Subsequently, probably with this 370, the change that has come into J&K, will be celebrating. Okay, will be celebrating 1 year of no, without any issue as far as the J&K is concerned. So when that happens, probably the RR will start shedding its people in uniform. The people will go back to the units and they will be replaced by those who are not still serving in so as in the service line as in the units that they would be posted out from as of now. That is your PNL. Okay. The CAPF, the full form of CAPF, not very difficult. You may play around with words, but it is Central Armed Police Forces. Now, which are the Central Armed Police Forces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 of them. You start with the biggest, which is the CRPF, about 3.5 lakhs. Then the second is a BSF, close to about 3 lakhs also. And then after that comes, in small chunks, there is something known as the ITBP, which a good number of you people would know. There's also an organization called the CISF. Since the airports have started using them as security, most of you would also be aware of the CISF. There's a fifth one called the SSB. That not many of you would have been aware of. The SSB also is there, which is also a police force, a quasi-police force, which is basically from the aspect of gathering. Weapons with them are in a limited form, but since they are deployed in areas which have militancy amongst in that area, so certain amount of weapons are given to them, but they are actually SSB are people who gather information. Okay. After your CAP comes your state services, and your state services. Earlier it used to be just the police, so fine, that's it. But I must bring in aware because the defense services have started going with the state services police in a very big way. And when you say state service, there is something known as the police being looked after the IPS cadre. We understand that. There's the state police which are divided into traffic and law and order. Crime, a big lot of them are into your cyber, and they also have an arm which is supposed to be to function in an environment where there's a threat. So they have weapons with them. So they are the armed police which is there. Besides the armed polices, they also have, depending upon the states, they've got a category of people known as the home guards. The home guards are also equally good. Something like the railways have got the railway guards. I have not included the railways over here particularly because the railways are on a different charter. These people who are there have started taking recognition within the defense awareness because nowhere in the country as of now, whether it is in J&K or in the northeast or in the Maoist areas, nowhere can the people from under the Ministry of Defense go without a rep of the state. The police has to be there. So the reason of us, of the people in uniform to know about them is very important. You can't have an airport which is sealed from outside without having the local police also dovetailed into your security system. It's not much different from the Navy. You can make out what those the naval bases are surrounded with, though they've got their own police. It's on a, the requirement are there as far as the states are concerned. Defense institutions. There are a lot of defense institutions which, uh, if you see something like the DRDO, that itself is a very big organization. You've got organizations like the HAL, you've got organizations like your those who give you your plant machinery. There are those who are functioning totally for aspects on parts which go only for you. The DIPR, that is the organization which we train, is just a small for us training with people from the DOPT. DOPT is, you must know this, DOPT. This is Department of Personnel and Training, which is also their people who go for their as assessors for them also come and do classes along with us when during the session which is there. This is particularly the DOPT looks after the civil services, your UPSC clones. The logistic basis, they are about 50%, 50% army, 50% in service and 50% not in service. There are institutes like your Kanpur Ordnance Factory, you've got your Ishapur factory in Calcutta. There are, your Jabalpur is a big factory in which you've got, I would say about 50% are in uniform, 50% are civilians, but the civil defense employees. The civil defense employees are quite a number. If we've got almost about say 1.3 million of people in the army, there would be very close to, if you take it from me, there would be very close to about say 10 to 15% who are totally entirely civilians, but under the Ministry of Defense. Okay, so if this is the gamut of the people that we must know, the next that comes in line is where is it that remember DOPT. This is not all. There will be, I'm sure there will be people amongst you who would like to join the civil services, the allied services along with it, the for that matter, even the railways, or for that matter, your CAPF. Those are the people who come in over there. I will just change this to defense. All right, that is just to show you that there's a class that is going on. Now, the part that we would like to take on right in the beginning is the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The Army, Navy, and the Air Force are the three prongs which the Ministry of Defense works with. There is also an organization called the Coast Guard, which has been, for some reason, the Coast Guard has not come with the Navy. The Navy would definitely like to take it on, but the merging of the Navy and Coast Guard has not happened so far. The Coast Guards, if you ask them, if you speak to the people who are in the Coast Guards, by and large, they would all like to merge with the Navy at one system. There is another organization called the ITBP. The ITBP is also a CAPF, which is taken on all the higher mountain areas. Yeah, come. Yeah, right. Uh, the, uh, the higher mountain areas is where that is where the it is not necessarily Indo-Tibetan border police. There are places you'll find ITBP in the middle of Jharkhand. You'll find ITBP in places where, for example, one of the locations that the ITBP has is the place that they are in a place like Belgaum, which is not very far from here. It is a task over there. training is basically done in a place called very close to Chandigarh. So, notwithstanding that, the need for the ITBP to come, especially in this scenario now, to come alongside the army and be part of the army is the aspect which is going on, which hasn't really been accepted so far. Again, these are heavy powers in play, but it stands to logic because there's a precedence. The precedence being the BSF, the Border Security Force, as the name suggests, the Border Security Force is just next to your, is deployed all within the battalions of the formations which are deployed along the IB. In fact, all the IB areas, IB means international boundary, all the entire international boundary area would be with the BSF. The area which is also known as the LC, line of control, LC. There is also something known as the line of actual control, LAC. These areas, the ITBP again, or the BSF is again enmeshed with the army formations there. There's no doubt about that. They are all under the army. So the precedence being, if that can happen, these also should happen, and more so because of the present imbroglio that we had, especially in the Galwan Valley, so this has been felt, and I guess it is being addressed. But the problem actually has been there for quite some time, right from the time when the Sikkim ingression from side of Bhutan had come in, wherein it was all being manned by the ITBP. We got another problem with the Nepal government or the Nepal state saying no, that this area of Dharchula is ours, and again that is one area which is totally with the ITBP. To get it under command has become a problem. Maybe I should not have said that. It is an issue which needs to be resolved at the earliest. Now, these are aspects which I'm telling you which needs to be meshed when I'm telling you about the army part of it. When I'm also telling you about, as I'm telling you this, just remember, we are also catching up on a certain amount of current affairs which has been happening on the northern Ladakh or the eastern Ladakh area, as also which has happened in mid-India, the area of bordering Nepal, West Nepal, as also your Sikkim, which is there. As far as Arunachal is concerned, there is the east coming district has always been a problem. That is where the Chinese actually came in very heavily in 1962. In that area, for some reason, the ITBP has been pulled out, or they were never there. But there is an organization called the Assam Rifles which has come in over there. So the meshing of all these are an issue which needs to be addressed a little early now, with the way that the environment that the subcontinent is going through. But notwithstanding that, what I would like to tell you is, it is not new. It has always been there, and at bits and pieces, somewhere it is modified, somewhere it is taken as gospel, somewhere it is kept at a place where it is flexibility has been given at. I'm telling you this because subsequently you will find when you're reading about this is an army area, but how is this ITBP coming there? As you read your general awareness issues which are there. Okay, I was telling you about the army. When you talk about the army, you would all know that it has got a lot of faucets. So I can make these faucets into different kind of forms. The first way of looking at the army, the way that it is how is the army structured? The army is structured in a portion which does the fighting, and there's a portion which does not do the fighting, but they support the fighting. I'm trying to use words which are civilian in nature. So the ones which are fighting, they are in one category. The ones which are supporting are in the other category. In between, really speaking, we don't see anything else. So the ones which are fighting part is what we know as the teeth. The part which is the one which is supporting is the somebody and supporting arm. So the part which is supporting arm is called the teeth. The teeth to tail ratio.
Sir,
You would expect. Is it okay? Shall I continue?
not able to
Just
hear
wave
you
your
properly,
hand
sir.
if it is okay.
I'm not able to hear you properly, sir. The audio is not proper.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I mean, you may not. I cannot hear you. Just wave your hand. That'll tell me that you can't hear. All right. So I can see you. I can see some. I can hear some disturbance. So I'm telling you that there is something known. I'm trying to get down to something known as the teeth and tail. To tell the teeth and tail, I was telling you the fighting part and the non-fighting part, the arm part and the supporting arm kind of a issue, in which the teeth is the one which is fighting and the tail is the one which is supporting. Pretty obvious. The aspect that I want to bring to you now is in the as far as defense awareness is concerned, the teeth to tail ratio, which ideally we would, if you see the world over, if you see, would be something to the tune of about 80 to 20, 80, 20. 80 is the fighting and 20 is the supporting. I'm looking at straight away, I'm looking at the Israeli defense IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. If you go and look at an organization which is which also does this kind of fighting, say the militant organization, you'll find it is 99 and 1. 99 people are fighters and only one probably is a supporting arm. So a healthy mix would be somewhere in the range of about 70, 80 of the teeth to a tail of about say 20 to 30. Our teeth to tail ratio is almost 50-50. And if you don't, if you include the defense civil employees like what we discussed, they'll definitely be lopsided. So that has to is being addressed, particularly those who are in the technical arm, those supporting like the EME, vehicle maintenance, those places where you've got signals, or I won't say signals, I would say those which are the backup areas. And how does it come? See the thinking, if you, rather than me blurting it out, you see, once upon a time, if I was driving on the border of say Punjab or Rajasthan or Haryana, which is bordering Pakistan, and if my vehicle broke down, I won't have any support to get it repaired. Nowadays, you find the best of the workshops and everything is right up to the border. So the services are already available there. There was a time when food, etc., was not, train lines didn't go up to the border where we wanted. Now everything is available. So because of the availability, time has come where the requirement is there. The time has come where that you start shedding it out. You want signal communication. Signal communication towers are there. Your Geo, Reliance, everybody has that. When it comes to war, all these people will come under you. Your fuel, petrol dumps, etc., which used to be way back in Mathura, now dumps are already available of Indian Oil and your HP, etc., way out in front. Not because of the Army or the Navy or the Air Force, I'm saying for the services, but because the civil population has filtered into that area. So the ratio of the teeth to tail is where we are concerned with. This teeth to tail is being, we will just take a break in a short while. We'll we'll just take a break and talk about it. The tail to tail ratio is, and when it is being brought down, the first acts or acts are coming into those aspects which are going right up to the border that we have. And when I'm talking about the border that we have, the border means a certain amount of ingress into the area across. And I mean not only Pakistan, I'm also looking at Bangladesh, I'm also looking at Nepal, I'm also looking at your Arunachal area. Okay, we'll come to know it by and by. As far as the teeth and tail ratio, while we keep on discussing as to how to get the ratio up, let me start off with the teeth part of it. The teeth part of it comes into different categories. They are things like very easy. There is something known as the infantry, there is something known as the armored corps, which everybody knows. There is something known as the artillery. The artillery is something which we thought would be someone who would be supporting the fire, but they are also as much up in front. Surprisingly, that you may have, there is a corps of engineers who are there alongside, right in front. Whether it's the mine fields that has got to be installed, or the minefield has got to be demined, is the engineers who go across. If there's an obstacle which comes, the bridges, the engineers are the people who do it. They are the most versatile arm, because subsequently when the bullets start flying, they will again have to reply to the bullets also. These are the arms which is there. Now we will again get back further, because I want to go alongside with the others. Each of them, I've not finished with the teeth part. I've told you the group that is there as far as the teeth is concerned. As far as the tail is concerned, the tail, there is an organization called the Army Service Corps. The Army Service Corps, and I don't know where you are from, but the base of Army Service Corps, the training, everything starts off from Bangalore. And they've got a big institution over here. The Army Service Corps is basically giving you everything that you need, which is not warlike, whether it is a mosquito net, whether it is the trouser that you wear, or whether it's the fuel, etc. Everything is from the service corps. I wanted to say, especially fuel is also given right, because fuel seems a little different, because fuel is warlike, and I have made a statement that it is not warlike. The fuel part is being given the AC. So then the question that you would have in your mind is, so then what is warlike? Who gives the warlike kind of stores? The warlike kind of stores is given by someone known as the Army Ordnance Corps. The ordnance has got everything for that is warlike. And the first thing that comes to your mind is the weapons and ammunition. All the ammunition, right from your Prithvi to your warheads, everything with the ordnance, as also all the weapon systems that you have, it all comes under the head of the ordnance. We also have the ordnance also has got the vehicles aspect, which is there for normal routine communication. As also, let me tell you, the ordnance also gives you things like your parachutes, for example, and the boats which are there, and then those things which may not seem warlike, your small buttons, your jerseys, your shirts and trousers. Yeah, that's right. Your woolen high altitude equipment, the clothing that is there. So these are all part of the ordnance. Come further, after the ordnance comes another category which is not within your. You all can join the ordnance and ASC, but there is something known as the medical services, the Armed Forces Medical Services. The medical services is part of the Army Aviation, but it is not Army Medical Services. It is Armed Forces, Armed Medical Corps, because they can be for the use, or they can be employed, not used, employed in the Army, Navy, or the Air Force. Often you will find when you do your medical subsequently, for those of you who are in Bangalore, you will find that a lot of Air Force medical personnel are there, but in between you will also find some naval, some army people also. Just like you go into some army hospital, you'll find the other services also. So they can be employed everywhere. So that's armed forces. They are part of the defense, but not as far as you are concerned. You are concerned with the teeth and the tail. When you talk about the teeth and tail, each has got its further subunits to which you should know. And when I say to which you should know, I mean uh, to the extent like if I said that you are joining the armed uh, stream, and in the armed stream, sir, I'm keen on the infantry. It would be worth the while that you should also have as to reason as to why you want to join the infantry and not the armored corps or the mechanized infantry or the artillery. Reasons is up to you. Within that infantry, okay, what would you like to join? Sir, I would like to join the Maratha regiment. So nothing wrong with it. But it would be quite obvious that the question that next will come, why do you want to join the Maratha regiment and not the Bihar regiment? So you must know the lineup of regiments which are there. And have you reason? There are enough reasons which are there as far as the choice goes. But that is where you join up, and you must know to that extent. Beyond that, what weapon do they have? If you know it, it's aim plus. But if you know this, you know that a person wants to join the army, he wants to join the infantry, and in the infantry he feels that I must join the Madras regiment, or whichever it is. You see, that focus is carried out, which comes in over. Similarly, when you come down to your armored corps, the armored corps also has got different kind of units. They've got armored corps units. Those are those new ones which are there. But the older ones used to have, they have some cavalry. They're known as cavalries because they used to be. Some have got specific names like Skinner's horse, Hudson horse, because the cavalry has come down. The armored corps has come down from the cavalry, and the cavalry used to have horses, and each has got its history passed in it. As the history pasted within those units which are there. None of those units are going to change. Unlike the US, where you've got simple numbers as far as your battalion and your regiment is concerned, the British and Pakistanis and Indian are perhaps the only ones who got specific names, and much attempts that may have been made to do away with these names and go for names, it has not been accepted. So be it. So it has its reasons, and that is the reason that these names stay on. So that is as far as the infantry is concerned. The names of the infantry. Similarly, as far as the armored corps, they've got their own series which are there, and the names are there. And we'll talk about this thing. We'll just take a break, and after, give me another 2 to 3 minutes, we'll be back over here. Okay, we got to go. I'll start with your questions. Okay. Folks, are you back? All right, okay. You're back. Okay. There are a few things which I must confess to all of you. I hope you also refreshed yourself. Uh, it's quite insipid, talking to you like this. Insipid in the sense, I can see some of you over there, I guess there's no interaction with you to see whether I can make out from your body language, are you able to understand what I am saying, or are you paying attention to me or not? There is no way. In fact, I just called the person who is the technician. Is, yeah, apparently the sound, because in between there was a lot of sound disturbance also. And the second issue that I find is I have to keep you interested. I have to keep you alive. Otherwise, there's nothing stopping you from going to sleep. Put on dark glasses and who the hell knows whatever it is anyway. So I hope you refresh yourself. And of course, the last is as far as the language goes. I hope the accent is all right. Uh, we, I am poorly handicapped. Besides all this, without the slides which I had, the slides apparently after 3-4 months has got corrupted, which used to be over here, or some whatever system that they had. I asked my wife to send it to me, and I think it'll be a showdown when I reach back. So having said that, let me, I'll tell you, we had reached to a point where I had come down into the army part, and I said the army has got those who are this armed branch and those who are the supporting armed branch. The word branch doesn't come, but that is the term that you understand. The faculty branch of the department. So those are, oops. So, having said, so we were at the teeth and tail, and I told you about the infantry and the armored corps. I won't go fast also. After the armored corps and the infantry, then comes things like the mechanized infantry. A word that I must tell you about the mechanized infantry. The mechanized infantry did exist till about say 30 years ago. You must take your mind back to one of the, as I keep speaking to you, this is where you become aware. There was one of the chiefs who was General Sundarji. And if you take your mind back, 1984 was the year when the Golden Temple was stormed, or had to be stormed, by the army. And I would say good 60 to 70% of the army, as it is, come from the area around Punjab. So it wasn't a very easy decision. It wasn't easy act, but in the army, a job to be done, a job is to be done. So when they were doing the storming part of it, first requirement of the mechanized armament required in built up areas was felt, and nobody better than General Sundarji at that time. It is him who actually had the concept of the mechanized infantry which came, which was a combination of the armored corps and the infantry. The infantry took part with not as many people as it used to have. The infantry normally has 10 people go in a section. In some places, you've got 11 people also in a section. As far as the tanks are concerned, the tanks have a weight of approximately 40-45 tons. So here was a combination of where the tanks, which was reduced to about say 20 tons, and the number of infantry people were reduced to about say 8 people, or rifle barrel strength, was meshed together to form something known as the mechanized infantry. They had a certain amount of protection in terms of small arms fire, and they had manpower to put foot on the ground, and they also had maneuverability capability, which was much lighter. And therein is where the mechanized infantry was born. But that's not the main reason why I wanted to tell you this. The main reason I wanted to tell you was the, the best battalion, the oldest battalion from each regiment was selected and converted into the mechanized infantry. So if we had the Sikh regiment, there was one battalion from the Sikh regiment which was taken and converted into a mechanized unit. There was one battalion from the Punjab regiment which was taken, and that is how it went. For example, if you ask me from my regiment, the Parachute Regiment contributed, gave 8 para, which was the newest para. There were only 7 battalions in those days. 8 para was handed over for mechanization. They became mechanized forces, and they have now changed their name, 16 mech. So each have gone, and that is how. So the essence of the whole thing is the mechanized infantry have the best of the best amongst the infantry. The equipment the armored corps could not really share because that kind of equipment did not exist. So he had to be brought in, custom made, and they are what is known as the APCs, armed personnel carriers category. And what we have is the BAP-1, BAP-2. Read about it. These are Russian equipment. Now that is where the event of the mechanized infantry. Now these are aspects which are there as far as the fighting arm is concerned. There's a certain amount of artillery equipment which is there, which you should know. The artillery is, I must also tell you, the armored corps goes with the regiments. The regiments have got something known as a 45 tanks, and they work under squadrons. And each squadron, 3 squadrons that they have, and one is the headquarters squadron which they have, and that is how they function. The 45 tanks is ideal, may not always be the tanks which are there. Each squadron has got about 14 tanks. So these are small aspects which you may, if you know it, let me tell you, your person, your interviewing person will be very impressed, but you may not know. Okay. If you do not know, please don't try hitting in the dark by saying, so 16 or 18 or 12. The best way of doing it, sir, I'm not too sure, but I think it would be about, say, 12 to 14. Would be a better way of saying it. And if you are not aware of it, it's best to say, sir, I'm not aware of it, but I'll find it. But these are ways of putting your mind across. Let me get on to the artillery. It is when I was thinking about the artillery, that's when I said I must tell you. As far as the artillery is concerned, the regiment of artillery. The regiment of artillery has got what you would understand are those big guns. The regiment of artillery has those big guns which may not be seen in the battlefront as such. May not. Earlier, they used to be that they will not be in the front, but nowadays, especially after 99, your office in Kargil, they have been right in front, firing like a normal flat trajectory weapon. Notwithstanding that, let me tell you on a larger base, the artillery is divided into various categories. They've got the guns, which are those, start off with those which go real high up and then come down. And they are something known as the mortars. The mortars also have another category of regiments among them, which is also known as the howitzer regiment. Don't worry about these names. These are the ones where the trajectory is top to bottom. There are those which have got flatter trajectory. So then comes the lower part. You've got the field guns, 25 pounders are not there, they've been replaced by 105. Don't let me confuse you with all this. What you should essence is they've got those lighter, which are those light field guns. Okay. After the light field guns, you've got something known as the medium artillery or medium regiments, which have got a little bit more range, approximately from about say 27 to about 37, maybe going into 40. Then after that, you've got the heavy artillery, which are those heavy artillery may not necessarily have larger range. Heavy artillery is the the capability of that regiment to impound that area with much more propellant, not more propellant, but more explosives on the area or the target that has been chosen. May not be the range. Okay. Let me just throw in a gray, let me throw you a red herring. If I told you that it's light field mortars and your medium regiments, heavy regiments, and I also forgot, yes, rocket regiments, which is also there now. Rocket regiments, you must understand if you've seen the capability of, the army capability displayed in the Republic Day, you come across something known as the Shilkas, you come some sorry as the Pinakas. These are those 40 barreled rocket launchers. And those are also there, they are known separately as rocket regiments. Now, having said this, I want to throw in one of those guns which all of you would be quite conversant with is a gun called Bofors. Right? Now, which category would they come in? Just write it down quickly and then look up. It can be either light, mortar, howitzer, rocket, heavy. Have you written it? Look up now. Now, just keep, I'm looking at your faces, all of you, and of those who got the videos on, and I'll be able to tell you how many of you have written the right answer. Okay. And if I said the right answer is medium regiment. Okay. Somebody's touching his ear. Okay. Okay. Some grins. See, I'm looking at body language. So it's not so easy. Not many of you have written medium regiment. Some of you have not written anything also at all. So now, my point of telling you this is, it is a terrific, the defense awareness part comes into such a large scheme where you must target yourself down to actually what you are keen on. So I'd like to play the guitar in a combo, in a group. In the group, I want to play the guitar. What guitar do you want to play? I want to play the lead, I want to play the rhythm, I want to play the bass, I want to play second lead. Don't they have these kind of this thing? Or let me go into something more ethnic. Say I want to do percussions. I want to play drums. So are you playing those normal routine drums, or are you on a tabla, or are you on that dholak, or are you on that so many kinds, those huge bongos, big bongos, small bongos, or whatever. So you have to be able to get yourself down to that. So that is what I'm saying. I want to join the army, I want to join the artillery. In the artillery, I want to go into this. Don't get mixed up with things like which used to be in the artillery was things like the Army Aviation Corps. That also used to be part of the artillery once upon a time, which used to be known as the Air OP. OP is not operation, is observation post. Air observation post, because of a helicopter, the person could get elevated, and with that platform, the person could engage or direct fire. That has now since been taken out. I won't say taken out, it has been delinked from the artillery. The job remains, they still do that job, but it has been delinked from the artillery. There was another department called the AAD, the Army, the Air Defense, the Corps of Air Defense, which is the AAD. Now, the AAD's function and their organization is totally different. Their role is different from what the artillery used to be. The artillery has delinked also the AD compartment, the AD complement, and now they have formed their own organization called the AAD. Now, these are things which have developed over a period of time, and these are new, I would say, relatively new as far as the army is concerned, but a very potent game changer. Your entire border is sealed because of the effectiveness of your AAD, your air defense. I'm saying AAD specifically because it's the Army Air Defense. It is not in isolation. The Army Air Defense is also in sync one-to-one with the Air Force Air Defense System also. As if that was not enough, let me tell you that there is another air defense or an air cover by something known as the NTRO. There's also there is one which has got a cover in terms of the RNAW or the ARC. So these are a lot of these organizations which are all looking at basically covering your entire border with any foreign, unwanted, unrecognized body coming across is identified. The Balakot exercise, if you recall, Balakot was when we went across. To say that our friends across the border were sleeping may not be correct. It was a system where there was a gap within the air defense system. That gap was exploited, and that gap is where we could get through and strike them and also get out. Well, getting out is not as much as important as getting in and discharging your whatever your payload is, which was done. Now, this is the significance of the air defense. Okay. I must also tell you, before I finish up artillery, normally you should know that each artillery regiment has got 3 batteries. Each of these batteries have got 6 guns with them, by and large. There are those which have 4 batteries with just 4 guns with them also. So, by and large, it is 3 batteries. Take your mind back to what was an armored regiment like, 3 squadrons. Armored squadron, 45 tanks, and each squadron had 14 tanks. Here you got artillery with about 3 batteries, each battery 6 guns. So 3 batteries have got your 18 guns, 24 guns. So this is what things which you could keep in mind, and these are the aim plus aspects which you would keep. This is as far as the artillery is concerned, which I need not go beyond this. Otherwise, I can continue and I'll get carried away also. Let me now switch over. I've done AAD. Engineers and signals. Very important. Engineers have got, as far as engineers is concerned, I must tell you that the engineers is divided into 3 parts. There were 3 centers, and they have identical jobs, all 3 of them, but the nomenclature would be very different. There is something known as the Bombay sappers. Sappers is the words that they would like to use, the Bombay sappers, and they are located in Bombay or Mumbai. Sorry, they are not located in Mumbai. They are called Mumbai sappers, but they are located in Pune, in a place called Khadki. Leave it at that. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is there is something known as the Madras Engineering Group, MAG. So the word Madras does not exist now, but Madras has become into Chennai. So technically speaking, the MEG, Madras Engineering Group, should be in Chennai, but they happen to be in Bangalore. Third one is known as the Bengal Engineering Group. And the Bengal Engineering Group, whether it was East Bengal or West Bengal in those days, could have been either in Bangladesh or in somewhere near Calcutta, but it happens to be in a place called Roorkee. All right. So you really have to stretch your imagination from Bengal to stretch it out till Uttarakhand, Roorkee, yes, Uttarakhand, to see how they have become Bengal. But that is how it is. Now, these are favorites of most of the IOs would like to test these from those of you who, most of you like to become engineers. Technical, not that there are no other technical ones, but these are things. So it'd be worth knowing this because these are those interesting facts, small facets. What they do, you don't have to worry. I must also tell you, the engineers, the job is basically three aspects. They make roads and tracks, the lightings, and the water. These are the three things that the engineers are supposed to do. I said roads and tracks, I said lighting, electricity, and I said water supply. You can always ask me, so, but you said the engineers do all bridging, and there you said the engineers do what you call mine sweeping and mine laying, etc. So that is inherent in this. When you say roads and tracks, that's the first I said, you can't have a road and track without these people putting a bridge across. You can't have a road and track if the road is leading up to the minefield and then happiness thereafter. They have to give you a what is known as a safe lane. It could be a vehicle, it has to be a vehicle safe lane where you've got vehicle safe lane for normal B vehicles, A vehicles to go across. I have used the term B vehicles and A vehicles. A vehicles are those vehicles which are big, which are like your tanks, like your dozers, like your what do you call your caterpillar? Yes, your dozers, your big artillery guns. Those are known as A vehicles. B vehicles, those which is like your trucks, light vehicles like your Jeep, Jonah, gypsies, the lighter vehicles. A vehicles, B vehicles. I might as well tell you, there are different classification of bridges which people need. Two which you should know is there is class 5, fair weather road, track. Then there is something known as class 40, which is supposed to be there's a class 70 also. These are various categories which the engineers are capable of making. A bridge is measured not by how how beautiful it looks or how it is designed. It is how much of weight can it sustain. So that is the category of how these bridges. So the engineers are the people who do this. Bringing in electricity, whether it's tapping electricity or generating electricity, whichever form, is again the job of the role or the task of the engineers, as also bringing water supply. So this is the basic three aspects of your minefield. Everything is rolled into bridging, etc. gets rolled into these aspects of it. All right, let me now quickly get into the other side. The other side is your arms, which are the supporting arms. Now, as far as supporting arms is concerned, let me start off at the outset. At the outset, if I tell a person, sir, I want to join the army and I'd like to join the Army Service Corps. The first impression that would be coming out is you're coming in not for fighting. Okay, and I can see a sprinkling of girls up and the women folk or the ladies over there. Not this doesn't really pertain to you, but I'm saying when you see a person, I'm joining the army to fight. Yes, I like to serve the country, I like to fight for the country. These are all reasons which come in as to why you want to join the army or why you want to join the services. Please have a good set of answers ready for it. Definitely, sir, I want to serve the country, sir, I want to fight for the country, I want to serve in the border. Are good reasons, but I would not say that they come in your first 3, 4 of them. Maybe a number 5, number 4, sir, these are. I would generally see what your first with the defense awareness background, the first reason would be, so I'd like to join the army or the navy or so because I like the life over there, be able to qualify for that. I like the reason that it is secure. After all, we are all joined, it's a permanent kind of a service that you're doing, or maybe short service, which is subsequently. It's a sustenance that we're looking at. That I'd like to join it because it is secure. It looks after me. If I happen to get hurt or something like that, there's a hospital which will look after me. If I die, my parents or my next of kin, etc., are looked after. So it is secure. It gives me good pay. Why not? Why do you want to shy from it? it gives me good pay. Compare it to anybody who is a, tell me, BTech, MTech, who is working, and you see your starting salary and you see your salary that you are all aware of, that I would like to join. So my father's in the army, so I'd also like to join the army. My uncle was there, fine, bring it on. So nothing is not spark of a person wearing uniform and want to fight. It's like when I was in the service, there was a cook along with me who was cook in my unit, and that person from day one till the day that he retired and went, he never told his family or his wife or anybody that he was a cook in the army. He always went back and said, "No, I'm not." So when people asked him, and especially when they were asking, "Oh, this is an AK-47, and as a cook, really speaking, you don't have much access to it." But that individual made sure that he knew about it, and he could carry off with everybody by saying that I'm capable, I can do it. It's just that I've become a cook because I could not make it because of my height or my medical. I could not make it into the G, the general duty. So I was brought in as a tradesman, and I picked up a cook because I wanted to be secure. I wanted to be secure in the form of pay and backup. This is as far as how did I reach here now? This is when a person says that I want to join the ordnance, it doesn't give that that spark straight away. So you should have your answers very clear cut to justify it. It's not very difficult. It can be done. Yes, things like, and it is very easy for the lady candidates. Let me tell you that for the lady candidates. But definitely, we would like to see someone who a lady candidate. Like I remember, she said, "Sir, actually, I want to join the army, sir, and I want to join the armored corps and join one of these regiments where these tanks are there. In those days, the T-90s. So that is, but because of my this thing, I cannot join it." And so she said, "Sir, but to be close to it, what I'm going to do is, sir, I would like to join the EME so that the electrical and mechanical engineers, the support which has to be given to the tanks, I can join that field or that branch, and then I will be close to the tanks. That is what I want to do. What I want to do. You see, now this is a answer which has been tweaked. I would say tweaked is not the right word. It has been so formulated where, yes, I have to join, given a chance, yes, okay, put me into the tank, I'll go in. There are enough people who have equal sense of, the fighting spirit which is there. Fight equally well also. Okay, so these are things which you must know when you talk about the ordnance. Like I told you, there's not much that I need to explain about it. The ordnance, the ASC, the EMA, not the engineer, the EMA, these are called backup services, where people will back you up to give you the wherewithal that you need. You should always ensure that they will anticipate well in beforehand. It is not easy. The logistic battle is not easy by any chance. To say that my ammunition has finished and I want that ammunition over there, you can imagine the problem that that ordnance officer will have when he knows that, okay, the ammunition over there, he's got, say, 100 rounds, hypothetically speaking, that 100 rounds is going to get over. He's got his statistics and his data which says it will last him for 24 hours. And that 100 rounds is going to last him for 24 hours. So I should be able to replenish that 100 rounds within 24 hours. The distance from here till there is more than 24 hours. So I have to stage manage in between. It is an area where where the vehicles may not reach in time. So if this is 100, I must stock some extra ammunition there. At the same time, he must not overstock also because these are costly aspects. If he overstocks them, he'll probably find elsewhere that he doesn't have enough for it. So it is a logistic nightmare for these people also. They may not be facing bullets. It's not easy, let me tell you that. And that is why in the civil street, when you talk about, the supply chain, etc., they are all ready to pick you up, depending if you are on the supporting arm. And why not? They will definitely do a much better job. I'll leave this at the, as far as the army is concerned, we'll leave it at that, the supporting arm. The army, the other aspect which was there is, this is now the structure of it. I must also tell you now about how does the army, this is the structure, but how do they get enmeshed and get into battle? So here in comes the apex is your army headquarters, chief of the army staff sits over there. But let me tell you that army chief, chief of the army staff, and the army headquarters which is there are only guiding, directive roles that they do. Guiding and directive. Like the directive has been recently received from the new education policy. The directives. You should use the local language till class 5. You may not. So those is what comes out from Army Headquarters. But now you take your mind, after that comes your commands. I'm not writing it down. I'm not going to, either I'm writing it or I'm talking to you. And these, I wish the slide had been there. So after the Army Headquarters comes the various commands. And I'm sure you all are aware of the commands, but the commands that are there are the commands what erstwhile used to be known as the armies. If you had Achunlek looking at the army, it was not British army, it is one of the armies which was looking at the Japanese front. So these armies are the one, like I said, one was directive and guiding. As far as the army commander is concerned, there is no guiding. There is no directive. When the army commander says this can happen. There is no, it's an order. And it may sound very autocratic, or not autocratic, sorry, very authoritative and not really very democratic. But as far as the services are concerned, let me tell you, being democracy, if you become democratic, it will not function. You've got to be able to listen to what you are being told and please follow it. Yes, you may discuss as to your views, your points, but once the army commander or your tiger, let me put it at the word, and the tiger has taken a decision, now you will fight tooth and tail to make sure that you go as per the plan of the tiger. I hope I don't forget tiger when you want this. Okay. Now, as I said Army headquarters now, Army Command. Army Eastern Command, Central Command, which all commands have I listed? Southern Command, Southwest Command, have I listed already? So, amongst all these commands which are there, which they are all covered up, there is also a command called Army Training Command. The Army Training Command is a not fighting kind of army training command, but they are the ones who will govern all the kind of training that needs to be given to the army. It also governs all the training that it feels that we should do with other places in the world. It also takes out as to what are the other kind of training that we should do combined with the Navy, Air Force, CAPF, etc., which is there. So they are the faculty of the training which is being done. And the Army Training Command is not just looking at what's the training going on today. It is looking at what is the training which should be 10 years, 50 years from today. This is what they are looking at. Something known as the perspective planning aspect is being looked at as far as training is concerned by the Army Training Command. So with these commands which are there, each has got a role. I'll quickly go with you. Northern Command, no issues. You know where Northern Command is located? I shouldn't be telling you all this. Please find out where they are. Okay, no issue over there. Then you've got something known as the Western Command. Bulk of our friends across Pakistan, that's where there is. So again, no issue. But the Southwestern Command, the Southwestern Command basically is looking at those places which are right up to Gujarat, looking at again across into Pakistan. Then you've got shift over to Eastern Command. It's got its even Chinese coming in. There was a handful was there with your Bangladesh problem. We had a lot of Bangladesh problems. We still have. We had problems with Burma, and Burma not so much from the Burmese army or the government of Burma, but it was the Kachins and the militants who were in across the border in Burma, being helped by the Chinese, which still is going on. Subsequently, of course, there was a problem of, if you call it a military problem, the Rohingyas. So these are the basic main ones. I have left out two commands. I've left out Central Command and I've left out Southern Command. It is striking that I left out these. It's not I've left them out just because there's a reason why they have been left out. As far as the Central Command is concerned, the Central Command all spread all over. But the Central Command is the command which is a kind of a command which has supposed to act as a reserve to any of the commands if they need their assistance. In the subsequent time, it is going to happen in the first 3 days of the battle. It will probably not happen in the first 10 days of battle also. But within 3 days, this command will be able to beef up any requirements. In the present circumstances, if you see the problems that we are facing against China, a good amount of Central Command has been employed. It's but natural. If you see the location that they are, the place that they're located. Look at the Southern Command. I don't want to tell you things which are already known to you, or would be known. Southern Command, the unique thing about Southern Command is Southern Command is got the largest area in terms of acreage, land, but the least amount of kind of troops, if you can say that. But Southern Command has got one very defined role, which is unlike the Central Command, which is supposed to be able to go anywhere and everywhere to beef up. It's not that the Southern Command does not have that capability, but the Southern Command has got the maritime role, as also they have something known as the amphibious, the division which is totally able to do a formation which is amphibious, in which say one of the formations that they have is capable of being assertive in any area in the Indian Ocean or within our area of where the country is. For example, like if you something happened, for instance, did take place in they went up even further to areas where Chinese have nowadays established their what we call pearl necklace, as they say. Southern Command is very effective. Take your mind back, not very far ago. Far ago, there was some problem in the island of Sri Lanka, and the Indian Army went in the form of the IPK, and that IPK was totally under the jurisdiction of the Southern Command. That is as far as Southern Command is concerned. I'll just tell you a word about the amphibious, about the division is where they're able to send troops into Ireland. So they have to have capability of being able to be something airborne, so an airborne brigade, something to be able to do, something that should be capable of doing air transport. You remember a place called Entebbe, Israelis, where the people had to be followed right up to Mogadishu. So the aircrafts land by over there, air transported. So there's a formation which is airborne. Airborne is when you jump. There's air transport is when you air transport land. And there's a formation which has got amphibious capabilities to be able to use your boats up to the shoreline, and thereafter you assault using your assault boats. So those are the categories which are unique for the normal. So this is the difference of this is how they structure, right? The structure now, I've got one more aspect which I have to tell you. How do they fight now? So I know there is, you said, so there is armored artillery, there is all that, etc. Okay, then you also said they've got all these commands which are various. It is not geographically, all commands are they fight amongst themselves by having the formations under them. Okay, here I will just use the pen for a certain for a reason. I will use the board. This is how they fight, is they have to be enmeshed together. And when they get enmeshed, I forgot about this and I want to bring it out before I forget. That's why I put it over here. Can you see this portion? All right, okay. Let me try a different color. Okay. Now, I said there is something known as command. COMD. You guys can see that? COMD written? Just wave out, some of you see if you can read it. Okay, good. If I see 3 hands raised, that's good enough. All right, now there is something known as the command. Below the command, there is, now below the command, there is something known as the
corps.
Don't you dare pronounce it as corps. So as what corps? It is core, right? But I don't know why they spell it like that. It's a foreign language. You're right, but it's called a core. They've got cores under it. Now each command has approximately 3 cores under them. When I say each command has got 2 to 3 cores under them. It depends upon where they are. Right, that's why I said it is not geographically designed that these cores are given. For example, if I were to tell you that the Northern Command, it's got a very small area, it's got 3 cores. You take Southern Command, and Southern Command is trying to decide as to how many cores are there under it, even as of now. Okay, so it depends. That's what I'm saying. Cores, but there are, I said 2 to 3 cores. I made it. 2 to 3 cores are there in each. So the Northern Command has got your Eastern Command. Don't you think that is going to be? It's an important core, important division, an important command. So they also have got 2 to 3 cores. You can always find out which are. To a certain extent, these are classified also. From core, after core, then you have something known as the divisions. Div. So the whole thing is these are short forms by which we use for the divisions. Now each core, so easy it is. Like each command has got 2 to 3 cores. Each core has got about 2 to 3 divisions, even more. Now after divisions comes brigades. Each division has got about, let's not put it 2 to 3 brigades, 2 to 3 brigades, let's put it about 3 to 4 brigades. Each division. And after brigades, you've got the battalions. Now, each of them has got, each brigade has got 3 major battalions. And the major battalions means if it is an armored brigade, it will have 3 regiments of the armored corps. If it is an infantry brigade, it will have 3 battalions, infantry battalions. That's not all. There are many mixing pieces in between which comes in. There is a brigade. If it is an armored brigade, it may have 2 armored regiments and 1 infantry regiment or mechanized infantry. Possible, because I had said 3 to 4 brigades. I didn't say which brigade or which battalions. Just like I said, a division might have 3 brigades, or which 1 brigade may be an armored brigade or mechanized brigade. So these are various independent armored brigade, independent mechanized brigade. These are lots of permutation combinations which are made as per the requirement of that case. I must tell you one more thing. I'm talking about how do they fight. I didn't say how they are structured. I didn't say what is the army made of. I'm talking about how they are, how do they fight. This is how they fight. Now, when they fight like this, we not understood as to how they fight. The enemy artillery training. What happens is you got the command has got compliments of everybody. So has score. Now, when the division is the first score, you can't hear. Sweetheart, who's this? Ajay can't hear. Chest number 8. Am I right? I think my gentleman has the technical person he put it right. Okay, Ajay, fine. Okay, good. Okay, now where was I? I was telling you how do they fight. Now, at the division is the smallest area, is the smallest formation where you got complements of everybody. So in a division, you got 3 brigades, you got one infantry element enough, armored maybe one brigade or armored brigade, 2 infantry brigades. So that has been catered for as far as the fighting part is concerned. You may have a brigade, you will have a brigade of artillery, the RT brigade. You will have an RT brigade. And RT brigade will not fight as a full artillery brigade. The RT brigade has got how many? I said 3 to 4 regiments, right? Battalions. Each of them will be subordinate to each of the brigades. Then the division also will have aspects like the engineer regiment. It will have aspects like the signal regiment. It will have the ordnance, the battalion, what you call it, ordnance, the ASC company, not ASC company, the ASC regiment. So each of the army, whatever we've said, what is the army made of? Those are all within the divisions. It is after the division that the brigades have a smaller aspects where company level and the battalions are on their own. But don't think that a battalion is not able to do. I mean a fighting battalion. A fighting battalion will have its own capability of signal people who are course qualified and qualified as well as the signal person. In smaller numbers, they will have people who are called the pioneers, who are as good as the engineer regiment gentlemen personnel who could be there. Of course, they've got the medical. So each have got their own pocket full of the kind of, for example, the quartermaster is there. He is the person who's doing the ASC and the ordnance. So they've got it, but it is given in different lines, which is given. The division is the smallest that we function at. As far as you are concerned now, as far as the army is concerned, if you know this, that's good enough. So, as far as the army is concerned, please make sure if I'm going into the, sir, I want to join the army, make sure that you know what the army is, consists of, the fighting arm, non-fighting arm. Know that the army, how is it structured, the commands, etc. Know how do they go into battle. There is much more which happens subsequently once you join and once you start joining the army and once you join the services to say that that you finished your studies. Sorry, the studies will continue. So there's much more that you will continue, and it's very interesting also as to how you will go riding all into Kasur or Chawinda. These are all villages in Pakistan. I have it in my mind, but I could never go over there because we never got. So these are aspects which must be known to you. Before I switch over from the army into the Air Force and Navy together, I must tell you that there is also something known in the structure which I have not brought in there. They are all corps only, but there's something known as the strike corps. The strike corps are the corps which have been earmarked which will go deep into the enemy area. And the strike corps are those corps which have been, because they have got to go deeper, obviously, they'll have better equipment, they'll have a stronger force level, they'll have equipment which is state of the art. So those are the strike force which are there, have been earmarked. There's one which is, I wouldn't say core, but on the eastern front there are two of those strike force which are there. Then the southern front there is one strike force which is there, and there's one more which you should know, since someone might ask you some querent question about it. Is something known as a mountain strike force. It's a new concept. It came in, went down, came in, went down. I think it is again coming up. I think it is still coming up because it costs quite a bit, and the mountain strike force has got to be expedited now in the light of the present environment. I'll leave it at that, but you must be able to know as to what are the strike force, the mountain strike force, and also something known as the holding corps. Holding corps are those ones which are holding, like it says. And the strike corps will go through these holding corps and get inside wherever it is supposed to go. All right. Okay. So having said that, that is where I finish up the army as far as army is concerned. I want to rub out this blackboard also before I step into the Air Force and the Navy. I want to take off this. Have you seen this? I've written 4 of these. I should be writing as per when I put my slides. It goes one by one. Now these 4. I should have said this before I started talking about the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. These 4 are those pillars. They are the pillars on which the defense services are held. The first is very simple. You are apolitical. Whoever the government, we take rules from, we take instructions from. It's pretty obvious. We don't have gainings to anybody. We should. And honestly speaking, we don't, I hardly know about politics. And there are many like me, just like there are many who are very well versed with politics also. But we are all apolitical. We follow whatever thing. And that is why invariably, if you see the news channels, they always say, please keep the defense services out as far as politics is concerned, or out of discussion or whatever. But invariably, it still comes in. So we are apolitical. This word, secular, very important. The whole defense services is secular. It is as good as you are. I'm sorry, you belong to a certain class of people, or you belong to a certain caste or category of people. Fine, everybody is welcome as long as you're an Indian. You're welcome, but you please prove yourself. It is not, sir, I'm OBC, I'm SC, ST, or like you have got in the civil services, or including IPS. And the IPS having terrific problems because of this. Leave that one. There is no, you're good, please join. You're not good, I'm sorry. You may be from this higher class, or but you're not good, you're not good. We're totally secular. Generally speaking, if you throw in this secular bit, the word religion into secular, my religion is my uniform, my battalion. If I am, I know this case. 3 grenadiers is an infantry battalion. It is the grenadiers are basically people from Haryana. There is no regiment of Haryana, if you recall. When you check, you won't find Haryana. But the grenadiers, Haryana has a lot of contribution, but the grenadiers belong to Haryana. And a good number of that regiment, 3 grenadiers, has got, they all belong to the Islamic, they were all Muslims in that battalion. As the CO, and the CO was one Colonel Bashir Singh. He's a PVC, please know it. It was Rosa which was happening. It was very hot in the area of Chamjoria, very close to Akhnur. And we were in an exercise, and the CO was offered a glass of water. It was pretty hot, and of course the food was also late. For the rest of us, there was no issue. But that CO, did not take a glass of water. Yes, he says, my troops are in Rosa, they're not here having anything, so I shall also not have. I mean, this is the reason he didn't give this answer straight away. It is after coaxing him, he said, "Bete, samajh le, I don't do it." And there were another 4 officers from the same regiment. I'll be damned if they would touch anything, personally or because they found that the sea was not touching anything. And remitedly, none of them were from the religion that they were all some other religion other than their troops. So that is the way that it goes into here. So that is the secular part that I'm talking about. You're only as good as your battalion. That's how they carry you into battle. Anyway, secular. Yes, I like to put in this word. Just like I said, secular, anybody can come in, join in, because you got to be good now. Please prove yourself. That is why the SSB comes in. Now, as far as the professionalism comes in, we are all professional. I'm so happy about it. We are all professionals. You will find that the reasons, like for example, if there is a person who is specialist in high altitude, who is a specialist in mountain house, that person knows mountain house. You will find that if you look at me, I've been in my unit was specialist mountain house, like 10 para was specialist desert operation, especially on paracommanders. We know everything about mountains. If we are put into into deserts, we'll be like fish out of water, and vice versa. So we know the mountains. We've been kept over there. Subsequently, when you command, after you command, and when you go into staff, you go into the mountains only. So you are doing a job which you know it. Compare it to the civil services, where today he is a joint secretary of in Post and Telegraphs. Tomorrow he comes up from Post and Telegraphs, and he is put in with some I don't know, probably irrigation. And then after that, next posting, somebody doesn't like him. So from irrigation, he is brought out and he is put into probably some supplies or something like that. And that is not professionalism. That is the reason that people have subsequently now, if you go across to, I don't want to say US everywhere. US, Australia, you see Germany, you will find people who are related with defense, people who are related with people who are related with the defense will always be an ex-army person or the Navy or someone who has been in defense. Make it a check back. In fact, I would say to a certain extent, is a little extra in the defense. Look at Mr. Putin. Well, I don't want to talk about Donald Trump. He's got his own plus points, whatever makes him. But his whole, if you see the US, you name an appointment which has got an iota of a touch of the military, and you won't find that you don't find a military. Touch it further in the European countries. So that is professionalism. A person must know. I wish I didn't have to use name, but there are some very glaring issues which are there. You have Mulayam Singh Yadav who doesn't believe in writing in English, and he wanted only in Hindi. And how can that such a minister be your head, which is supposed to interact with people from Russia, people from the US, people from Australia, the Indonesian countries? Someone like your present finance minister, I hope she is qualified to be the finance minister, but definitely I can't see her as the defense minister. But for whatever reason, she must have done a good job, or whatever understanding that she had or which she didn't have. That is where professionalism comes in. That's what I meant by professional. We are all professionals. Last point, you might find it difficult. Tradition. Well, tradition is a pillar. Tradition is a pillar. I gave you an example of 3 Grenadiers CO. We live by traditions. The tradition of the colors. marching across, and we like that color. The tradition that we are supposed to be, so the second Rajputana Rifles, second Rajputana Rifles has got this tradition that they will always bring the CO into the regiment in such a manner. It will always be taken on. This tradition of the regiments are kind of, they're semi-official or official to a certain extent. Something like the PBG, the President's Bodyguard. You've got a unit like the First Horse, which is your Skinner's Horse. They've got their own series of traditions, which is there. It tumbles down even further down to the normal running of the unit. And that is where probably a good number of people say, "Sir, I like the life." So I like the life in the Army or the Navy or the Air Force. What is it that you like in the Army, Navy, Air Force? That's the obvious question. Oh, sir, I like, sir, what party? What party are you? Everybody has that party. You have the city street also. What is the tradition which continues? The tradition of immortal who is what we're looking for, okay? The families, the way that they get up, the getting together, the bonding that takes place in the family. We're closer, the bonding is much more closer than bonding with your own family members that you have, relatives which is there. That is pretty obvious. Because you are eating, sleeping, doing everything together. These are small things which bring your tradition. When you become an officer and you go to your unit, just the way that you are brought into the unit will be a tradition that the unit is following. Ask yourself, when you see it, that time you can remember. So that tradition, these are the four pillars. And incidentally, I'm talking a lot about the Army. The same exists with the Navy and the Air Force also. And I'll be damned if any of them will say that they will like to take it out. That they know we will not do it. It is as strong as that. Take, for example, the salute. Did you know that the salute of the Army and the Navy and the Air Force are quite different? They're not the same. There is subtle difference, but there is a difference. And I'll be damned if anybody will say, no, we'll do it. There are some traditions that the Navy wears ribbons, ulta, different from what the Army chap wears, or the Air Force person wears. You not noticed it. You noticed it, and they say, no, because we are seaborne, we're in the sea, that's how that we should wear it. Unlike those people, Air Force and Army, these are small traditions which are there. When a helicopter comes down to land, you've got those ground staff which is there. You must have seen, with those with the light, if it is night, or with they say, bring it down, right? They bring it down, and then these are indications which that ground will give. Each is different. The Army has done so different. Army says switch off engines by doing this. The Navy chap is like this. The Air Force chap has got system of this thing. Okay, now you can switch off. The Navy says secure. Secure means pack up. Just like in the Army, you say line tod. What does line tod means? Okay, let's go home now. Line tod. Okay. In the Air Force, pack up. Pack up everything. Let's go home now. The Navy will say, please secure. Isn't it pretty obvious? Secure means now the boat we've reached shore. Please secure with your rope or something. Well, let's go home. These are not traditions. You don't understand. You must understand. Why is the tradition? Why is the whistle blown when the captain comes on board with the ship? And everybody's got to be there. Not the President of India. Oh, no, sorry, President, yes. Because the President is the Supreme Commander of the Defense Services. I forget. But other than that, the Prime Minister, etc., coming, they may be given the permission, but what is granted is very secure. Now, that is traditions which is there. There are people who die because of traditions. That people, one of the reasons why a person is never left injured or dead in the field is because of tradition. The tradition of we will always bring our body back. Otherwise, we'll also not go. We'll also stay back. The same thing has not trickled down to the CPF in our country itself. I wish it was. These are very, and the tradition of not leaving your brethren back or your buddies back goes a long way. And it goes a long way. 2,000 years to prove it. So quickly, now let me finish that off. Okay. I'm switching off. We take a break. When we come back, I'll ask you your questions, if any, first, and then I must tell you about Tiger. Air Force and Navy still there. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, come on, let's get back. Okay, this has changed. Please look what I have written now. That's what I use my. I hope you are able to read what is written and quickly read what is there because I'm running short of time. Oh, gosh. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is better. Okay, we must finish this, right? And I must start off with Tiger. I must tell you about Air Force. Tiger is something I want to tell you. Air Force, Navy, quickly finish off. The current affairs, general awareness, PIQ. You guys have all got this now? Something like this? On your email? If you don't have it, doesn't matter. It's okay. I'll quickly tell you about it. Now, Tiger. Why I wanted to tell you about Tiger is, are we all in? And you can hear me? Yeah, okay. Fine. I wanted to tell you about Tiger, about the equality in the when I'm talking about that secular business. all professionals. You know, it's filled with professionals. Each has got its place, and each respect each other. I may be senior because of the rank on my shoulder, but each person is seen as my buddy, as a person who's also in arms, who will also fight, who's going to look after my back, cover my back. Sorry, that's what it is. Now, why I've used the word tiger is, for example, it's a very nice. I hope you can use it somewhere in your during your interview. Is a tiger is the person who's the top man. For example, if I said the chief of the army staff, well, the chief of army staff is tiger. He's tiger as far as the army headquarters is concerned. You come to command, the army commander is the tiger over there, and so on and so forth. You come down further to a battalion. Now, tiger is the CO of a battalion, is the tiger over there. Similarly, if there's a company commander, the company commander within the company will be known as the tiger. Not confused? I'm sorry, I hope it's not confusing. Go down further. You've got a section commander who's got probably a 2-striper or a 3-striper. That's a naik or a havildar, would be the senior most or in charge of that section, and he's also tiger. Go down even further. There is something known as, in the langar, that is the cookhouse. In the langar, you'll have probably 2 cooks, and you'll have say another 1 or 2 massages, 1 or 2 person store man, and you've got somebody who is distributed, and you've got a person who's called the langar commander. That langar commander or the cookhouse commander is also a tiger. Now, this is where the equality comes in everywhere. It's like the Air Force. So I'm an MTD. MTD is military transport driver. He may be driver, but as far as the pilot is concerned, he is also a driver. Well, glorified driver, whatever it is. There is in times of in moments of in lighter moments where people do have a laugh out of it. And as it is, if you don't have a sense of humor and if you're not able to laugh, sorry, this is not the place for it. Everything is not serious. We have to have no leader, and I mean across the board. You look for a leader who does not have a sense of humor, you won't find any humor. That's what it is. All right. Let me take one. That was tiger. All right. Whatever. Air Force and Navy. As Air Force and Navy, as far as the strength is concerned, is come down to quite a bit as far as the Army is concerned. The Army is massive. You've got your 12, 13 lakhs of people who form the Army. The Air Force and the Navy are much less. 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs. This is the kind of figures that you've got. So it has not been, it's not that they've not been given the kind of importance that is there. It is firstly got to do with we are not a very rich country. We have to have, we cannot afford, we have to make do with whatever resources that we have. So we cannot afford to have that. Secondly is as far as the location of or the threat, that perception that the country sees, as far as our country is concerned, we don't see a threat perception coming to us more than what is presently available. If there is more, yes, you can. You compare it with the US or someone, it's different. So that is one aspect which is there. The third point is as far as why it is so less is because a system has come in where a lot of these duties which the Air Force used to do has now trickled onto the Army. For example, earlier the Army didn't have any flying, was only by the Air Force. For example, I'll just tell you, there is something known as the Apache, which has just come in. How many Apache AH-64s in our country? God knows. Please find out. I hope you know what I'm talking about. AH-64. Okay. You all know how many Rafales have come because you can count it in your hands and your fingers. These Apache helicopters, really speaking, don't belong to the Air Force. It belongs to the Army because they are going to be used against tanks. It is supposed to be an extended hand of the mechanized formations. So that is the kind of integration which is taking place, which is being taken off from the Air Force. There is something known as the Army Aviation. The Army Aviation is as good as the Army, as the Air Force, and in figures much larger because obviously you can see how many Air Force bases you've got and how many bases the Army you've got. The requirement is much more, the number of helicopters is much more. So the division has come in terms of, on it. Let's put it at height. Anyone who's functioning above, say, 2 kilometers will be done by the Air Force. Anything which is below 2 kilometers is other than the Air Force. That's the classification. But the classification like this. Anything above 2 kilometers or 2,000 meters, only Air Force will do. Anything which is less than 2,000 meters, well, that the Air Force can do that also. So these are those aspects which brings it smaller. You take it from the Navy. The Navy is looking for, well, we only had just one aircraft carrier. Probably we'll have a second one also very soon. And we're already talking in terms of a third aircraft carrier. Yes, probably when the third aircraft carrier comes, there will be an increase in the number of the strength of the people that are employed. But till then, it's not, till then, so be it. That's how it is going on. We still haven't reached the place. How many total aircraft carriers in the world? Anybody? Write a figure. How many aircraft carriers in the world? Just write a figure. Okay, look up. Okay. For those of you who don't know. The figure should be approximate about, say, 45 to 50. Out of those 45, 50% of them are all with the US. So the US needs this large fleet because they need a large air force because their requirement is all across the Atlantic, across the Pacific. So they need it. We don't have that kind of a role. So that is what you must understand. Similarly, when you talk about the Air Force capability, we've got the Rafale, which is there. Don't leave it only at Rafale. What category of Rafale was it? Is the Rafale the best? I'm not talking politics-wise, but we are looking at something we are going to go further and further up. There's no point buying, I've got, let's see, a vehicle which is AC. Now, AC vehicles are not really required if I'm in a temperate location. So you should be able to upgrade yourself. Earlier, we used to drive in a Maruti 800 which had no AC over there. I upgraded myself to a different car. Now nobody's got an AC. That's upgrade. There's something known as the Stealth series. There's the sixth generation of fighters. I personally feel that I wish that Rafale could have been bought replaced by some of the sixth generation of fighters, like the Stealth. There are, if you see the countries which have got Stealth, there are I think about 7 or 8 countries which have got Stealth fighters. Why shouldn't India be part of one of them? Pakistan is not one of them, fine, that's okay. But China, I guess, definitely is part of it. That's what makes me feel so. Not that I know the Chinese very well. Having said that, let me go ahead with the Air Force to brass tacks and carry it. Air Force divided into structure. What does the Air Force have? The Air Force has got the flying branch and they've got the maintenance branch, right? Somewhere written somewhere over there. Fair enough. So the flying branch now, good enough as long as you know this is also good enough. But then, so I want to be a fighter pilot. So now obviously that flying branch has got to be divided further. So the flying branch is divided into 3 aspects. You've got the fighters, you've got the helicopters, and you've got I hope you guys know there's something known as transports. Right. I can also put in a 4th category in the flying branch itself, which are those, in a quasi way of putting it, is are those your herons and your drones which are there, the big time drones, as also the rockets which they have. All the rockets are not with the army. Just remember, the Air Force has got its own series of AD rockets which are there. So these is, and they are all part of it. I would say the rockets are also part of the flying branch which is there. Have you seen of how in Afghanistan people sitting in Texas, he's sitting in either he's sitting in Houston or he's sitting in Dallas, and they are playing people like your age, and they're shooting at targets of Afghanistan or Iraq, black and white. Go and check out on, I don't know, whatever channel that you, YouTube or whatever it is, you'll find it. Now, those are the capabilities that the Air Force is slowly getting into. So that is also part of the flying branch. After flying branch, you've got your maintenance branch. The maintenance branch, maintenance branch, whereas maintenance branches are those that in fact, which have to, because they're equipment heavy. The equipment heavy has got to be totally professionally manned. You can't have someone who's an electrician. You're an electrician, you just do the job of this also. It has to be specifically bound. But having said that, then I'd like to just wrap up by saying that it is so important that the Air Force has got a maintenance command also. Like the way the Army had its command, the Air Force also got its commands. Please find those commands. Very simple. They're divided longitude. As far as the equipment is concerned, I told you you've got the fighters, you've got the transports, and you've got the helicopters. These are the main thing which you must know. When you talk about fighters, the fighters come in different categories of fighters. I'd like to emphasize upon two of them. The mainstay of our the Air Force is like we've got the SLR in our INSAS in the Army as a personal is MiG-21. No, it's not MiG-21. Definitely, it's not Rafale. Also, it is the Sukhoi 30 Mark 1, which is the mainstay of the Air Force as of now. MiG-21s are still there. We thought that we will phase them out, and just when we thought that we finally hit the last coffin, nail into the coffin, we found that our friend Abhinandan, he went and shot down the F-16 with his MiG-21. So MiG-21 is again come up. But MiG-21s are going to go off. MiG-29s are also there in a very big way. There is an aircraft called MiG-27 which used to be with us for quite a while, but the entire fleet of MiG-27s has left. You've got also the Jaguars who are there. You've got the Mirage 2000s which are there. It's different, French, British. Now it has become quite difficult for them in how well to train each. It's not that I take any vehicle and start driving it. Avionics are different, armaments are different, and that is where the Rafale which comes in over there, their avionics is quite different. Their armaments are different, and their armament, I hope, is as good as it is. I'm not aware of it. But the armaments is ultimately what is. Just having a flying platform is not good enough if you're not able to carry the payload. Fine, leave that part, so be it. But these are the kind of fighter aircraft which are there. There's a plethora of helicopters also which are there. Big helicopters, smaller helicopters, attack helicopters. Go through it. Somewhere you must be able to see it. You've got those transport helicopters, which is the Chinook series. I would say even your MiG-35 in, or for that matter, your Mi-17, which is by and large a workhorse, which is like a small Tata vehicle which goes anywhere and everywhere. So these are the main aircraft which is there. And transport aircrafts. A lot of Russians, AN-32, IL-76, IL-78. AN-32, I'm trying to tell you the unique things which may not be. AN-32 is an aircraft which is the main transport aircraft of the Indian Air Force, but the AN-32 is an aircraft which was made by by Russia, and Russia itself does not use it. We are the only country which uses it, right? And why is it that we are the only country we use it? Because the layout of our country is such that we need aircrafts which can carry heavy load, real heavy load, but not in large volume, small packets, heavy load. So what could that be? What could be heavy load in small packages? Does it strike your mind anywhere? For example, drugs. No, they're not that heavy. Gold, yes. No, ignorance of gold. So we don't have gold in the defense level, but definitely ammunition. To carry ammunition, small packages, heavy, carry them from the east to the west, to north to the south, or from south to the north. Now that is why the AN-32 was brought in. That we are using it for paradropping also, we are using it for communication also, we are using it for carrying out, transporting people. That's different. So that is the AN-32 which I wanted to tell you about. Uniqueness of it being serving only in the Indian context. The second thing, I would also like to tell you about IL-76, IL-78. IL-76 is a series of the AN-32 series only, but IL-76 is, the requirement of IL-76 came in because we wanted to be able to transport a tank by air, or say APCs by air. So that is where an AN-32 could not do it. The capability came in the form of IL-76, which can carry 40 tons of, 40 tons is the tank. It can carry up to 50 tons. So that is why the IL-76 came. But since I did say IL-78 also, why do you think IL-78? So you must be carrying about 6 tanks. Is that the reason? No, IL-78 is the one which is a refueler. It can refuel any of these aircrafts, and that is why the IL-78 came. These are the Russian categories. You must have heard about the Globemaster. The Globemaster is just a name. It's like Tomcat, Flogger, F-16. It's C-7. Okay. Hercules, C-113. These are American aspects which have come into it. Why I'm telling you this is you must understand and be able to discuss that, that we are actually, looking at only Russian equipment. From Russian equipment, now we've shifted over to American equipment. From American equipment, we've also got French equipment, which has come in now. Before this, we had this, what is called your Mirages, Jaguars, which was also, different. Do you see the problem which is happening? That must be there at the back of your head. And bring it out from your head at the time when it is required. Whether it's your discussion, your group discussion, or whether it is in an interview, these are the small aspects that you can fetch off compared to the other people. Wherever the flying maintenance, flying helicopters, that's it. No more of Air Force. Anything about Air Force, which is already. As far as the Navy is concerned now. As far as the Navy is concerned, see what I've written over there? You can't read it, okay? I'll tell you. This is the easiest for me to understand. The Navy forms itself into 3 categories. It's called Fly Navy, Dive Navy, Sail Navy. So obviously it is, the Navy is divided into 3 categories. The part which is the aviation part, there is the part which is the sailing part, and there's a part which is the diving part. As far as the flying part is concerned, it is confined not only to INS, the aircraft carrier, Vikramaditya. Did I correct? Okay. It's not only the aircraft carrier which is there. It also includes flying from bases in Cochin, bases in Karwar, which have got these long range reconnaissance aircrafts. The TU series, which are there, the AVAC series kind of aircraft, which they are there. So this is for their own homing devices. The Navy, by virtue of its flying, has got its fighters based on the aircraft carriers. And the aircraft carriers don't have so much of aircraft, but the turnover that is required is what makes them that they must have, they need much more aircrafts in rotation than the Air Force. That is one which you must know. The second thing is the category of aircrafts which are there in the Navy is not only in the aircraft carrier. You've got these destroyers, you've got these caveats, your corvettes, which are there, which also have place at the back for detention of one or two choppers. Or if there is no place, there's capability where the chopper can come, land over there, and then get back. So that is this kind of flying is also there. They also have a category within the Navy of the SAR, the Search and Rescue Teams, SAR. The Search and Rescue Team is a combination of flying, surface, and diving. And that also comes under the gamut of the flying part of the Navy is concerned. Okay. We've not talked about the Marcos, that's the INET Indian Marine Commando Force. We will not talk about that. The Navy, as far as there's the flying part. Sail Navy, please know the kind of aircraft, the kind of ships that we have. Small ships, pettier ships, missile boats, small boats, right up to your aircraft carrier. What I would like to tell you about the Navy is each of the Navy has got something known as a captain of a ship. Now, the captain of a ship in a pettier boat would be probably just two officers only. So the captain will be the senior most. In a Vikrant is a much bigger boat, and so then you probably have a rear admiral, or you will probably have a commodore who is there looking after it. But he's a captain. Now that is why the word captain is an appointment as far as the Navy is concerned. But take your mind back. The captain, as far as the Navy is concerned, is found equivalent of a group captain as far as the Air Force is concerned, and a full colonel as far as the Army is concerned. Did you notice that? So this kind of anomaly is there that, for which the Navy feels that our captain is not a rank, it is an appointment. Right? So this is one aspect which I must tell you as far as the ships are concerned. Since I've told you about the captain, I must also tell you that the deputy or the number two in any ship is also known as, not as the captain, is always known as the XO. 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 What does it mean? Executive officer. See, what I'm telling you is, I'm giving you those points which you will not find in your handout, your books, or whatever. You please read all those handout books. These are those small excerpts which should have it in your mind, and I hope like hell that it comes out at the time when it is required, so that you get that small edge. A person, when you say this, my cousin is there, so my cousin is in the Navy, and right now, so he's XO in that in INS Virat, not Virat, whichever it is. So the person will say, "What's his name?" So I say, "He's Lieutenant Commander so and so." You've got that person knows that yes, you know your beans as far as the Navy is concerned, right? So those are the small points. Now, as far as the Navy, now as far as dive Navy is concerned, please know, firstly, we don't have any nuclear submarine that we call ourselves, that we can call our own. The nuclear submarine that we have has been given to us on loan by Russia, and we're holding on to it. Ukraine, we're holding on to it, and I don't know whether it will ever go back, but we got to get across to a nuclear capability, because a nuclear powered submarine will have an endless, it doesn't have to surface. There was a time when we just had, not till 1971, soon after 1971 war, the only 8 submarines that we had, they could, out of the 8 submarines, only 4 could dive, technically dive. The other 4 had to stay afloat, only surface. And of that, I think about 2 or 3 of them were only on the dry docks for maintenance. Of the 4 that could dive, none of them could dive more than 30 feet. And that's from periscope out, 30 feet. And if they dived 30 feet also, they all had to surface within an hour or hour and a half, 90 minutes, 60 minutes to 90 minutes. They had to surface. So this was the status in way back 75, 76. You can imagine how we have now gone up thereafter. We've got the Kilo series, we've got the series of your HDW 1500 series, German submarines are coming. We've got submarines which we are going to be making ourselves. It is an arm which is the most required as far as stealth is concerned. The Navy capability to dive is as good as the Navy capability to have aircraft carriers in the water. Just remember that. So that is as far as dive is concerned. Not much that I can tell you about. Please know about the naval commands that are there is very simple. You've got a base in Bombay, Mumbai. You've got one in Cochin. You've got one in Vizag. There is something known as INS Delhi, which is in Delhi. It's a land. It's just one naval headquarters. There's also a terrific base which is coming up in Karwar, which has come up already. It's still developing in Karwar. Please find out where are these on the Indian map. Once you know this, that's when you will come to know as to what it means to how your navy is deployed. As far as your central command is concerned, that is the Cochin, that is the training command. As far as the navy is concerned, so much for the navy. And in terms of that is the structuring, I told you about what the navy has. How do they fight? Air Force fights it in conjunction with the largely in conjunction with the Army. As far as the Navy is concerned, if I were to tell you, it would be on a package base. Package base means wherever the threat is more, the threat would employ that much more of effort of the Navy on that side. So hence, if you see the breakdown, if you see you've got one Eastern and you've got one Western. You've got an Andaman command also. They're called FOC in sea, Fleet Officer in Charge. Like you've got GOC in sea, General Officer in Charge, Army Air Officer in Charge, command. So that is how it is divided. So it is you've got one command for the eastern part, Arabian Sea, and you've got one part for. Simple as that. Okay. Now, as far as your Navy is concerned, right? Current affairs and general affairs. I want to take it together. See, general awareness is so large. I'll just ask you, general awareness is. Can you tell me the capitals of the unit is the country capitals which are alongside the river Danube? Maybe 50% of you will know, 51. The Danube is a river which flows in, let me see, Europe. Okay, which are the countries it flows? How many capitals are over there? There's a river called Rhine also over there. Okay, so, and these are general awareness, general knowledge questions. There could be anything. There could be so much, and you would know, say 100, and probably you'll be asked 101, which you don't know. So general awareness is something that has got to do with your upbringing, which you've been brought up, and as time goes on, the way that you've been picking. Right now, I come to current affairs. This is where you can now put in some. As far as current affairs is concerned, for directly speaking, for your SSB, when you come for your current affairs, nobody is going to ask you current affairs which has happened in the last 3 to 6 months. Really speaking, if you ask me today, I doubt if anybody is going to ask you any question about, yes, okay, because of Galwan and Chinese, firstly, it is, yes, gone more than 6 months, 3 months, 6 months. Secondly, it has also got ramifications of Ministry of Defense, because we are all joining defense. So it could feature, but normally speaking, other aspects, people may not really ask you in those. Like some blast has taken place in Beirut yesterday, 2-3 days ago. Unlikely that is going to come into as current affairs. So give yourself a comfortable 3 to 6 months before you need to know it to the extent that you should, that you feel that you should draw the line on the other side. Anything beyond 2 years, that also won't be current affairs. So anything beyond 2 years, you need not put in that much of an effort as much as the present 2 years. So 2 years is still quite a package that you have to prepare. So how do you prepare for that package? It's one of the methods which in which I learned this from some of these people who were in the DOPT is, you sit down and decide on issues. Don't talk about specific things. Take an issue and you make a list of issues. You'll be surprised. You'll be able to 5-6 issues. You just write it like that. Then you go for lunch. While having lunch and having a snooze, afternoon siesta, you will realize that about 3-4 more you got. Come back and write those down. Within 2 to 3 days, you'll have about 70-80 issues in the environment, in the world. Now that is what you should know in terms of current affairs. Now you might be thinking, what is this guy talking about? Issues. Issues are things like put India. You can't avoid India. So with issue of India, China, India, US, India, what we call Israel, or it's still not clear. India, Israel, India, Palestine. Which side are we buttering? I mean, which side are we on? Our issue with Japan. I'm just thinking right now. So you've got about 4-5 issues just like this. When you write down an issue, write it down. Then you start reading about it. Then you don't write everything down. Then it starts building. And trust yourself. If you read it once, it will stay in your brain. So that issue is one area. Then after, take out other issues like, for example, okay, there is something known as the Kurds problem. Kurds. Ever heard of it? The Kurds are a community in the northern part of Turkey. And there is a problem over there between Lebanon, them, and Turkey and Iran. What is it? There's an issue over there. Put that down. The price of petrol, fuel, oil prices going up, going down. It's an issue. You write that down. You're not finding out. It's an issue. Put it down. Now you start reading about oil. Automatically, everything will start falling into place. Why the OPEC countries are not being allowed to sell more? Why the Russians feel that they're pretty okay? Why the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea oil is still with the Russians? Or the US, how are they imposing themselves on Saudi Arabia? To the extent that Iran said, no, we will fight, we will sell our oil. And in that, India got stuck. Iran is good, they will give us oil. It's been assured to us. But US has told Iran, you will not US has told everybody, nobody will buy from Iran. So now what do we do? Now those are issues which you must know. Right? These are small things like I made a mention about Rohingyas. So put in Rohingyas. But don't leave it only at Rohingyas. There is something the NRC and those things which is going on in the Northeast. But it wasn't only for the Northeast, it was for the whole country. So you see, so from Rohingyas, you come to the Northeast, Bengal, and then after that they spread into all over India. Now that is an issue. Now when you start preparing for it, that is your current affairs preparation. That will make it much easier. So prepare your current affairs issue-based. Okay. That is the first part. The second part, no current affair event can be isolated without bringing in, if it is not India oriented, then bring it. How does India get affected if Hong Kong, incidentally, we have not made our state, is Hong Kong, which is China? Is China, Hong Kong part of China? Is Taiwan the actual Republic of China? Or is it China? Have we? So have an opinion of yours. In this, where does India fit in? That issue is of China and Brazil. That is a separate issue. You can talk about what Taiwan feels, that Taiwan, which used to be Formosa, what do they feel about China? What does Hong Kong feel about China? That is a separate thing which will, but along with that, what is India's? What is our say? How does it pros and cons? Whatever it is, it has to be logical. put in your mind to it, it has to be logical. Then after that, you may have those which are your subcontinents, you cannot leave them. You put in you put in Nepal, Bhutan, Burma, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Pakistan. Put in Afghanistan also. And against each, make something, read about it, of whatever is happening in the latest week. Pakistan, you can't, that itself is a separate issue altogether. Look at Pakistan. We call Pakistan a bad country. The poor Pakistanis, I was talking to a group of people like you all only when once upon in the US, let me tell you that. And the first thing that that girl told me was, so why do you, first of all, she did not believe that I was from the Indian Army for whatever reasons. When I convinced her, she said, so why do Indians hate Pakistan? Why do you hate us? I said, who said so? Now that is the psyche which is there amongst all of them. And if you listen to General Musharraf, because we are professionals, if I ever meet General Musharraf, I will give him my smartest salute. That much is there because we're professionals. He has been an army chap. He joined Pakistan Army to fight, and he's fought well. Kargil was his baby. It's just that he lost one of those things. But my point is, if you listen to him, you see, when quickly I will tell you about, look at the imbroglio, how you must understand the problem of Pakistan. Go back to 75. None of you guys were born at that time. 75 is when the US guys left, they left Vietnam and they got really badly bruised over there against the Chinese and the Vietnamese. The Afghanistan people, they moved into, the Russians moved into Afghanistan soon after that in 1979. Okay, keep your clock ticking. 79, the Russians moved into Afghanistan, and so the Americans had to do something against that. So what did they do? They came and plonked their base in Pakistan, and they said, no, we must do something. And they started skirmishing against the Chinese using Pakistan soil. And thus, they found Afghanistan has got no army, nothing over there. They've got all nobles. So they found something known as Taliban. So Taliban was formed to fight against the Russians, and the Taliban was all funded, everything by the US or Pakistanis, ex-trained, etc., from Pakistan itself. So that happened, and the Talibanis were able to move out the Russians from there. The Russians left over there. Taliban is a very strong force over there in Afghanistan, so strong that nobody else can touch them. So strong that even in Pakistan they started they started hitting into each other. I mean, the Pakistan army couldn't pick it as of today also. Right? But the Russians have gone back. Now, so the US people are there. So the US said, okay, Afghanistan is still there. US people came. US army came inside. When the US army came inside, that's the time when the organization, they had to fight against the Taliban, whom they have brought out. The birth of the organization called the ISI. What is the ISI? It is the intelligence one. And that is the ISI is the one who's going to give us all the aid. So that is why the US got it. ISI became very strong. The ISI was reporting more to the US people than to the Pakistani government. Do you see now why the ISI is so strong? As it is, the Pakistan government is run by the army. Because the army, the clergy, and the politician. The politician and clergy can go wherever they want to go. The army is the one who calls all the shots. But the army dare not call all the shots without the ISI's approval. You see, this is the kind of quagmire that the Pakistan army fell into. But as long as the US people were still in Afghanistan, suddenly the US people left off. Now, when the US people left off, some of you might have been born. No, you all were not born, sorry. That's the time when we came into we joined the army, whatever. Now, that's the time when the US guys left. The Pakistan was left over here with a monster called the Taliban, which is an organization of the ISI, which does not listen to Pakistan, but they call themselves Pakistan. What do you think that country will do? So it has to be seen from that perspective. Each of them has got to see. The Turkey, the country I told you about Turkey, there's the Kurds. The Kurds are there in Turkey, but the Turks belong to 5 countries in that area where they are all in minorities everywhere. So these are the things that you must, when you talk about it in terms of issues, all these will come into it. So talk about your current affairs in terms of issues. And that's how you can prepare for your current affairs. Each topic is this thing. I don't know if we have further classes on this, then we start discussing each one. Starting with India-centric. The third point and the last point is, you have to see it from the point of view of the Army, Navy, or the Air Force. How does it affect the Army? How does it affect the Air Force? How does it affect the Navy? In any aspect, you see, whether it is petrodollars that you're looking at, it does. Our relation with Russia, or our relation with Russia, was it the reason that we got this 29 F-21 aircrafts? If it wasn't good, probably our relation with Russia was so good, we ensured that the Chinese don't get that missile system S-400. But was it that reason, or was it something else? So these are, when you talk about, when you bring the India-Russia issue, you will come to know about this aspect when you put in that aspect about defense ministry, or the Army, or Navy, or Air Force. So you see, when you break it down to issues, in fact, what I would request you is, all of you, I don't know when, those of you who are going on 15th of August, wish you all the best. But for those of you who have some time, start writing down issues. You are capable of writing down issues. Make a list of issues. I've already told you about 10, 15 of them just now while talking. You'll be able to find out over a period of time. After this, I'll wrap up and I'll go home and I'll remember 3, 4 more issues. You will also remember it. Make a list of it and start preparing it. As far as GK is concerned, please don't worry. GK is, I hope, like that it is something that you are aware of. Otherwise, the questions could be anything you've got in the last 10 years or last 20 years. Can you tell us the new states in India in the last 20 years? See, because you are all kind of about 18, 19, 20, little over 20 probably. So so Jharkhand, so there is, we had this Telangana which has come up. Then we also had, that is why you will come to know that there is a land. So there's also a state called Vidarbha which is being carved out. Where is Vidarbha? It has to happen over there. So they're also talking about Uttarakhand. No, Uttarakhand is already done. There is some, UP, I forget, Eastern UP and Western UP. They want to degrade that. There's some name is there for it. For those of you, please find out. And if I meet you, you must tell me also. There is some, but these are the ones which people would like to make new states also. Know about it. So these are supposed to be all general knowledge. Name 3 rivers which are flowing into the Arabian Sea, 3 rivers which are flowing into the Bay of Bengal. God forsaken, what a question here. Right? So it could be anything which is there. A favorite with me was, because I happen to be from the Northeast, can you name me the states of the Northeast? And by the way, a person starts out telling me first 2, 3 names, I know that he knows all that, he or she knows. So the next thing I said, all right, tell me the capitals also. Now, you don't have to be so naive to catch that. It's just playing good fun, that's okay. But a person knows it. Why get caught with such matters? So GK, leave it at that. You may know about it. I didn't know about. I remember that student candidate asked me about it. Sometime back when I was doing the IO, there was some dance, Korean dance called that Gangnam dance or whatever it is. It was a question, because these are questions which are there with us. Ask them about the dance. I didn't know about it, I didn't understand it, but I did ask, and they explained it to me better than, as the interviewing officer, I was explained better by the candidate, than what was given to me in written. But this The candidate does not know. The candidate feels that, oh, this guy knows about it. Is that we are also human beings, we also prepare for it. You have a technical person sitting in front of me, and I'm going to find out, is he fit enough to go into the TES or as a TGC? I must ask him something about mechanical engineer. Okay, let me ask him something about the Carnot cycle. Okay, let me ask him something about vehicles. You see, those are things two-stroke versus four-stroke. Can you get me the reasons? I don't know about it, but it's written and given to me. He better know it. Okay. Now, that's as far as. Before I come to PIQ, you guys, it's your time. Just hold on. That's okay. I will tell you about PIQ. Any questions that you all have? Anybody scribble anything, or you want to get off to lunch straight away? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Put your this thing on. Saurabh, is that it? Saurabh, you raised your hand, right? Yeah, go ahead. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Saurabh. Okay. Are you speaking, Saurabh? Raise your hand. Yeah, I can see your hand raised, but I can't hear you. I think you've got to, the gentleman is coming away. You see, he has some questions he wants to ask me. He wants to ask. Oh, I'm supposed to do that? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Saurabh. Oh, I think you'll have to unmute. Just hang on here. Have you unmuted yourself? Yeah, I could make out lip read, not able to hear. You're not able to hear.
Yes, sir. So can you hear me now clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. I hope the rest can also hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So
okay.
the doubt which I had was you taught us about the core and all formation, but I had a doubt like what uses of sub-area and areas in army organizational structure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, these are all logistic formations, static formations, and really speaking, it forms, yes, part of the army. They are formations, but they are not really. They are logistic, and they don't really form a part of the fighting force. And that is why, if I've said where is 5 div, where is 6 div, where is 14 core, you see the place is not given, but you will always know that there is a MNG area, Mumbai and Goa sub area. There is station headquarter Delhi. There is always sub area, Narangi sub area, Ambala sub area, right? So there is nothing secret about it, and they don't have any fighting capability. Incidentally, they have logistic capability. Fighting capability means they don't have any guns or fighting troops with them. That is where you'll find a whole lot of base workshops, EME. You'll find the ammunition dumps, the FADs. So that is where it is. It is just an administrative. I shouldn't be saying it is just, because I was also sub-area commander. But that's how it is, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It is there, it exists. It
Yes,
exists, but you can just count it. I'll just tell you, there is an area headquarters depending upon the zone. Like for the entire south zone, you've got ATNK area, which is in Chennai. Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala. It's called ATNK area. And they call it, see, the place itself is in Chennai, and they've got sub areas which are there in Trivandrum, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. Similarly, there's one for MNG, Mumbai and Goa. And they've got sub areas in Goa, sub area in Nagpur. And there is no, I'm not telling you where 2 core is. I'm not telling you where 21 core is. Where is 1 core? Because these are operational ramifications. Fine? But they do exist. So area headquarters, sub-area headquarters, station headquarters, period. Yeah, anybody else? Yeah, you got another question? Yeah, Ajay, go ahead. You unmute your, this is what this gentleman told.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, actually, I have applied for TGC 132 in the Indian Army. The notification I have applied for is TGC 132 Indian Army. So in the notification, they mentioned the requirement for the specific stream called aerospace engineering. So being an aerospace engineer, what job nature can I expect in the Indian Army, or like what do they basically expect from me if I'm going to get deployed in any of the
Aeronautical engineer, isn't it?
yeah, yes, aerospace, aerospace,
Aerospace, fine, okay.
aerospace.
There is. So, firstly, get through the TGC SSB, join the and then you join the Army. The initial part that you'll be doing in OTA or IMA is going to be nothing different from the others who are doing. But it is after you get out from there, you would be asked for a choice of arms, in which you would be definitely on aerospace. Would be there would be probably the drones. Army would look for those areas where there are drones, or the AADs where you will be required over there. You're a technical person, not from the executive side, but from the technical point of view, from the maintenance point of view. So you will definitely be able to join it. And that's the reason why they have said that, when they take out a TGC, they will look for people who have got, every time you will not find mechanical engineers. Every time you will not find aerospace engineers. Every time you will not find, it is only when they find that we are running short of GEs, garrison engineers. That is for the sub areas. So we need GEs means we need civil engineers. So that's the time when the SSB will be for TGC for civil engineers. Sometime when they will need, I remember they wanted some people to join the bio and nuclear NBC aspect was really gaining momentum. That's the time people wanted chemical engineers. So they said chemical engineers were required. People who are signals, electronics, telecommunications. You find some of them TGCs is only for mechanical engineers because there is so much of vacancy for EME. There are a lot of for your signals would be probably core of signals would need telecommunication engineering. So depending upon the vacancies which are being built up, which they can foresee, that is the kind of intake that they will take in. So they have definitely seen requirement of aerospace engineers, and that is why you've been asked to come in.
So in the 12-month training period time, they'll be training us, or they'll be imparting the required knowledge onto us before the actual deployment in the field.
As far as the deployment is concerned, it depends upon what you join. What you join means where you will be allotted to join. You will be allotted someplace where your aerospace engineering comes in. As a TGC, you cannot join the infantry or the armored corps, let me tell you. Right? But in your interview, definitely you can always say, sir, I'd like to join the army, sir, and I'd like to join the infantry. But because of my entry and my qualifications, I can only join the technical arm. And as an aerospace, I can see that I probably join the AAD or the ones. Yeah, Army AD, the air defense would definitely need aerospace people.
Missiles and artillery also need aerospace engineers, basically, sir.
Yeah,
missiles
also could be. That's why I said air defense is an offshoot from the artillery only. You see, we are looking at it. I'm looking at aerospace, a lot of avionics, the Air Force. So now the Army Aviation also has got a lot of aircrafts which are there. Now you could be perhaps used somewhere there also. You're not going to become. You're not going to become Abdul Kalam. I mean,
okay.
But not just initially. We'll start from there on. All right.
Fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
God bless. Okay. Yeah. Who else? Yeah. Go ahead then. Rahul. Is that you, Rahul? You want to ask a question? I know. Okay. Okay. If we are done. Rahul, sorry. I think I saw something else at the back, and I thought it was a hand that was waving up. Okay. If we are done, keep your thoughts in mind. If there is anything, you can get back to us. There's a system in which these people are looking up and ask. What I've given you in a nutshell is, just remember, what I've given you is, I've told you that when you go, I'm doing everything just for you to clear the SSB. I couldn't be too really whether you join the army, do you make it? Because after you join, you clear the SSB, you are going to go for medical. Almost about 30 to 40% don't make it in the medical, and that's a larger number that I'm taking. It could be at 50 to 50. Thereafter, there is something known as a down merit list also, which is made. So a stumbling block for you could be anywhere. But from my side, my focus, the mere fact that I'm standing in front of you for the last 3 years, and if I've blurted out something, my aim is that you must clear the SSB. Clear up on the 5th day in conference, and I've cleared the SSB. Whether you make it after that or not, it's such a sense of confidence that you've got in you that I've cleared this SSB. Yes, and let me tell you, Mahindra and Mahindra are looking for people who've gone into SSB, not cleared it, but he's gone through the entire gamut of SSB to that conference area. There are umpteen people who made it over there because they find that half the job is done by these people over the selection portion. Anyway, that aside, what I've told you is, the defense awareness is the part where you have to sell yourself. If I'm going to become one of those, I'm going to work in Google, I must convince Mr. Pichai's organization that yes, that I have this thing in me, I have this passion in me to do all this, whatever games or programming or making, etc. Convince him and I am the person that you need. Let him check your qualifications. Your passion is what you have to bring across. Your qualification, he will check you out. All right. So same way, when you come over here, the defense awareness, you've got to be there. You can't say that's okay. I think I'll join the let me see Navy. Okay, let me join the Navy. You can't be doing that. You've got to go in Navy because you've got the passion for it. So I'd like to join the Navy, but I don't know how to swim. Doesn't matter. Everybody may not be, but I learn how to swim. So, but I like the way that the people wear the uniforms, the white uniform, the life in the sea. Have you been in the sea ever? No, sir. But I think it is going good. What I can feel. Have a backup. Don't lie. Honesty, very important. So these are things that you must do. That's the defense awareness part. Current affairs, because we want you to be a leader. We are the person who is an officer is a person who is a leader, not a manager. A leader stands a little above. Manager stands in between. You must draw. Christ. Okay. This is where your manager is, and these are all your people all around it. Right? All around it. People. Okay. Now I'll tell you what a leader is. Same thing. The leader is here and all the people are around him. Same as the manager. What is the difference? This is when I'm looking from the top. When I'm looking from down below over here, I see people standing like this all over. And they're all people here. The manager is somewhere here in the middle. Right? As far as the leader is concerned, all the people are here. Right? They're all standing over here. And right in the middle, you'll find one child. That follows a leader. That's the difference that you need. So you need an all-rounded personality. You must know when the chips are down and your troops whom you command are with you, they are looking at you can see bullets flying everywhere, blood flying all around, and you don't know yourself as to what is to be done. But as far as your men are concerned, you can't show it to them. And you will not show it also. Because the men are looking at you, they'll say, हाँ यार इधर से भी गोली आ रही मेरे को लग गया उधर भी हो गया but यार ये मेरा कैप्टन साहब है ना इसको कुछ पता होगा, he will do something. Now forget yourself, because of him you will definitely do something, and he will be every time he'll be next to you. And that is why it is always your men. Just remember, your country will always come first for anything and everything. You will do everything for the country and the government. But second after that is your men that you will be looking at. His welfare, his chutti, his khana pina khaya ki nahi khaya, is he got a place to sleep, his comfort. That's the second thing that you do. His family. That is why he's got so much to give to you. See, so much he has. You yourself, you come last. Always and every time. These are written somewhere. Please check it out. And words, not be exactly like the way that I said, but these are words which bring out to you. Okay, I'm telling you about PIQ now. Bear with me. Now, as far as the PIQ which has been sent to you from here, there are two kinds of PIQs which are there. All right, please listen. PIQ, though it is a fag end of the day, it is very important. PIQ is the one where, if you see, this is what the interviewing person sees. When you see the PIQ, when you go for it, you've got the GTOs, you've got the psychs, and you've got the interviewing officer, correct? Now, amongst them, does the psych know you? The psych does not know you. The psych only sees what matter you have written in terms of your TAT and your VAT. He probably, the psychologist doesn't even know whether you're a male or a female. Because he or she, I mean, the psychologists are ladies also, they don't know you, but by the way that you write, by the text, by the contents of your writing, they can make out this is a girl, this is a boy. They can also make out this is a girl about 20 years old, this is a girl who's 16 years old, this is a girl who's about 25 years old. But physically, they've not seen you, nor have they seen you technically on ground. But they can say this person is a kook, this person is an idiot, this person is very smart, this person has whatever it is. That's why he's a psychologist. Now you take your mind to a GTO. Does the GTO see you? Yes, the GTO sees you. But the GTO does not know your background. The GTO does not know, God, is this guy from Bihar or is he from Maharashtra? He doesn't know you because he's not spoken to you. He doesn't know what is your background. Is this fellow, is he from Sainik school, military school, or is he from a public school? Is this person from from a rural background, or a military background, or an urban background? He doesn't know that. He just sees the person in front of him. He's tall, dark chap, got long hair, or muscular build, or this fellow is not very tall. That is all he knows. That's what the GTO knows. Bring your mind to the IO. The IO sees you also, knows you also, and the IO sees this. He knows all your background. So give it to them. That is why the marks are also given likewise. The IO has got more marks. Okay. Now coming to the PIQ. The PIQ has got, there are two PIQs there. One is it's specific to the Air Force. Those of you who join the Air Force, who go into Air Force selection boards, they like to have a few more details which the Navy and the Air Force don't really insist upon. So if you see the first two pages, that's the one which the Air Force person would be looking at, which you must feel likewise. The second page, which is a single page typed on both sides, is the one which mostly goes into the Allahabad, Bangalore, Bhopal, Kabul. Now, whatever it is, what you need to fill in it is, besides what is given to you, that you must know your chest number, etc. What I must tell you is, when you fill in over there, take your mind as to what the person who's going to be reading it is in his mind. He is going to be someone like me, who's actually, if I see a PIQ which is not very neatly written, I'll lose my interest. If I find that the PIQ has been scratched and cut up and again made out, I'm not going to, probably I may not penalize, but I'll not get a good feeling. So the person who writes over there, and I've noticed girls do a very neat job of it, they write nicely, what is the selection board number. Nothing should be left empty. There's nothing that you don't know also. Don't be a lost case. You understand lost case? Lost case means don't be a book where he says, now what does he say here? He says the permanent address. No, this is my present address. Obviously, present address is from where you come from, not where you are staying in that SSB. I have gone into SSB Allahabad, so the present address is the Allahabad SSB. Brilliant. Your address is where you come from home, and your permanent address is probably I have come from my college where I was studying in Delhi. So that is my address which is there, but home is actually in Rourkela. So that is which should be written neatly over there. Population, make a note of it. You know where it is, go beforehand only and do it. You don't have to go down to the exact decimal. You have to, don't be too wrong about it. And I'll tell you why these are also there. Then you've got these particular name relation very clearly written. So the, when we are looking at it, this the IO spends quite a lot of time on the PIQ before calling the individual, because based on the PIQ, the IO will make notes as to what are the questions that I must ask, how is it that I must tie it up. If I find a person who's coming has got a military background, the questions that I would be asking that gentleman or that lady or that girl would be a little bit more what I would expect from a person who's got a full background of the defense background than from a person who's coming totally from a civil background, never been, but just out of pure passion, person wants to join these services. So that PIQ is very important. When you write, please make sure that you write honestly, write on things which is the truth, because the questions which will be asked will be based upon that. And if you waver out, then you are in trouble, because the aspect of your factor two is what we know, is your competence. You may be very intelligently, very able, very good reasoning power that you have, but the aspect of being social, being able to talk with people, being able to convince people, influence people, may not be there with you. So those aspects would come in. So now, if I were to see the first part of the PIQ, no problem. Like for example, population in lakhs, which is there. You say, so you could have asked me so many things. Why are you asking me population in lakhs? It is just to see, is the person responsible enough to give the answer that you're looking for. If you write carelessly, if your handwriting is not very good, if you don't try and make an effort to make a handwriting good, the same thing will be reflected in the population. We are aware of the population. In terms of relations, okay, there's nothing, nobody says you write your father's name first or you write your brother's name first. The right way of doing it is put your father's name first, put your mother's name first, next, then whoever the next sibling, brother, sister, and then finish. Things like my brother and sister, I put my younger one in front. To put my mother in front of my father. Nothing wrong with that really. But go as per the system, norms which is there. Logically people would do that. When you go to a restaurant to order for a menu, you don't find the chicken, whatever is there right in front. You first look at starters which are there. After starters would be probably some snacks in there. Then the main course. And right at the end would be the dessert, isn't it? So that is the logical way of doing it. Nothing wrong with putting your desserts right in front. So that is how you must fill in your relations. Neatly write the name, age, years, education. Nothing should be left without a blank. If there is something which is not required, put a dash. Put a dash to show that I've seen this column and I've left this column. There's nothing for me to state in that column. That's why I've left it as dash. If you don't make any attempt on it, it could give that maybe you forgot or you oversaw it. Don't give that question which is there. The next page is very important. There are things like, what are your interests? What are your hobbies? What are your games? Everybody would like to, fill it up nice and proper. We do fill it up nice and proper, but don't get caught. You say, sir, I played basketball. Sir, I played basketball. I was captain of this school team. And then when he comes in front, thinking that, there's no way of checking. Or I've got a certificate. I don't know whether the certificate says I'm captain of my school team. And I will just ask you, tell me what is a 3-pointer? And 3 points? I've not understood. Everybody who plays basketball would know about it. So this is where you should not get stumbled into. Right? So I love swimming, sir, and swimming is one of them. So what is the longest length of swimming that you've done ever in your life? Sir, I have just done, sir, about 400 meters. Done 400 meters is a long distance in swimming. So you must be able to tell the truth. So when you put in your thing, put it in correctly. Sir, I like to play the flute. Okay? So when you start playing the flute, and someone will ask you about flute, do you play flute with a reed or would you like to play flute? So that I don't know so much. I just play normal. There are people who say, sir, I like cycling. So how much of cycling do you do? I said, so I cycle every day, sir. Okay, every day. Okay, what cycle do you have? So I've got, I think, sir, Atlas or Hercules. Now, if I'm interested in cycling and I do cycling every day, I don't know whether it's a Hercules or an Atlas. And then after that, how much is, sir? I go to the market to buy vegetables and come back. That's not cycling, really speaking. So, if you are doing cycling, so serious cycling, so you should know, sir, cycling. Wear a helmet. I don't have one, sir, but a helmet is required. I've got, I have a cycle which has got gears, 3 on this side and 7 on this side. So it makes it up to 21 gears that I have. I often use it, and I do about say 20 kilometers on a weekend or 100 kilometers on a weekend, something like that. Now this is the truth, which you must say. Also, when you write in this thing, you see there is something known as name of the activity group, duration, participation. If you see, please see, it's somewhere after hobby is participating. This is very important, which has been left over there. Now, that is where you bring in your people will just write, sir, I was in the LTS, or I was in the Interact Club, or I was in the NSS, I was head prefect in the school. Put it over there and be able to talk about it, because definitely I will talk about it and look for leadership qualities in you. For example, so I took part in NSS camp. So, so what is this NSS camp about? So the NSS camp was we had to go to a village and we had to clean up that village. Fine. NSS, you are aware of? National Service Scheme, or any of that kind. So when that IO tells you about that, be ready to ask that the person is looking for leadership. So where did you go? So we went to 2 villages on certain day and certain day. What was your contribution? Right? So if I was the leader of the whole pack, you made it big, because you can see. So I had to do this one day beforehand, so while everybody was having a good time, I had to go and ask the principal for a bus, because bus was not available. So the next morning I told everybody to come at 6 o'clock, but people were trickling in at 6:30, 7 also. Doesn't happen. So it was a big problem for me, and but finally could gather everybody, got them into the bus. So we cleared up the entire village. Then it started raining, so all the food that we had taken got wet, and we didn't have any food for ourselves except for the soft drinks, and we came back. So you see, what have I told you? So these are things which I've done. But at the end, sir, in the evening when I came home, sir, and I had a bath and I was lying down, I had a big satisfaction of myself, of the challenge that I had to come across. It was satisfactory that I could get everybody to go over there, and though nobody saw me, but I was very satisfied with the task having been done. You see, now what have I done by telling this to the interviewing officer? It's shown you your initiative. You brought in your point about your leadership qualities without using these words, which are so that is what comes into that name of the activity group. You can be anything. So I see a lot of technical people. What do they say? So I took part in this competition of robots. So okay, so there were 5 of us in that. So out of the 5, who was the leader? So somebody else was there. So what did you do? Make sure that you have also contributed. That is what should be brought out by when you fill in this form over there. And then last is your type of entry. Please be truthful, whatever it is. That is one thing that can be checked. And in case you've cleared everything, and if it comes out that somebody has not given information which is correct, it could be very serious. Let me tell you, in the Army, there is, for your ranks, you've got a Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D examinations also. Were you aware of it? Oh, good. Some heads are nodding. So these exams will continue. The exams are nothing. You will all pass it. Everybody passes it. But if anybody is caught cheating, just once, not a second time also, there are enough cases where the person does not get the next rank. He does not get the next rank, that's it. He goes home and he's that rank. Check it out with anybody who's there. So there are some aspects which cannot be tolerated. So tell the truth, bring it out in that form. This is as far as the PIQ for the Air Force and the Army is concerned, right? Now, what is all this entire bump which is there? Can you see? I hope you all can. Now, this entire bump will help you if you fill it yourself. I hope this is also come to you. You fill in over there, what is your present address, what is your height, weight, chest. So they may not think, bring it over there. Describe the following most interesting event in your life, most horrifying event in your life. Make a note of it. And so that when you ask the question, the person will just think, these are things which will really help you. So please do that. As far as the PIQ is concerned, remember the IO, this is his way that he is going to formulate his interview to you. When you fill in the PIQ, if I were to fill in my PIQ right now, I can make my PIQ in such a manner that the IO assessing officer will ask me those questions that I want him to answer. The question, right, where I'm comfortable with. Let me put it that way. So, what depends on the PIQ? Don't get him on the wrong foot. Writing the PIQ well is as important as how well dressed you get inside when you go in for the interview. I hope that has been covered last time, right? So that was as far as PIQ is concerned. Anybody, any queries, any questions, anytime, anything else? No? Okay. I've got a question. You must have an answer ready. Unlike the GTOs and the psychs, the IOs are always a little mature. So the present lot of the IOs which are there are those who have come from an age when there was no computers, there was no cable TV, or they have just started off, not much of cable, etc. Internet, etc. not there. So talk about me. We were of an era where there was a lot of time for outdoors, adventure, etc. Your category of people have not been exposed to it. So is my children. That's how it is. You just can't help it. That's how it is that they've got other things. So you must prepare yourself as to say, you don't play any games. Don't hesitate to say, no, sir, not really. Not outdoor games. No harm, rather than saying that I play this game and you will hardly play it. I play volleyball, because you've seen somebody in the village playing volleyball. Some query will come in that volleyball which you'll get stumped. So it was just actually fun volleyball. So it's not serious volleyball. So I said, so seriously, sir, I've not played any games, but we have been playing. Don't hesitate to say that. How are you spending your time? Good enough. The PIQ will tell you. Those people who have served somewhere, sir, I have finished my college in 2018. And now I'm going for so the person will definitely ask you filled in over there, 2018 you finished your class. What have you been doing for the last 2 years? Have your answer ready. Prepare yourself. For some reason, I've done my class 10, so I did my 10th in 2010, and I did my 12th in 2000, and I completed my 2010 in 2013. What happens? A question definitely is going to come is, I see that, you have taken 2 years, 3 years to do something that should have taken 2 years. What was it? So I dropped a year, so my marks are not good, so I was not promoted. Be ready to answer these. So these are questions, like I told you, how you fill your PIQ, very important. Okay, these are things that you must do. Be able to talk logically and be ready to prepare yourself for an answer like the IOs would be asking you. Okay. Don't go everything into cricket also. Yes, it's a religion for us. But there are others also games as far as the armies, navy, and air force is concerned. Services, we don't have cricket. It is just this thing. We don't have what do you call it? Yes, tennis, etc. We play troop games. So just remember, it is troop games like cross country, boxing, football, hockey. These are basketball. These are those games which are more, troop oriented. These are the more outdoors. So that's why. So when you join the Army, Navy, Air Force, You should be, normally if someone wants to join you, you should be outdoor oriented or adventure streak. I don't see anything in your PIQ which says that. What answer are you going to give? You see that? So have something. So no, so my interests are there. I'm not, this. Give a little bit of. So when we went to this hill to that Puja Mandir, we had to climb up 467 steps. One of the candidates gave me such an answer. I said, so we put it as a competition. So we did it 3 times in one day. Yeah, nothing, but it tells you about a person's passion or his journey to do. Okay, anything else? Come on, go home then. Bye bye, all of you. I'm switching off now, right? Bye bye, guys.